You're listening to Eternal of Love War, sponsored by TaleTreasury.com, only on Novel Audio Hive. Chapter 1, The War Faraway, 1760. War, it seemed to be the human race's favorite pastime when they wanted something done. The illusion of glory and power clouded the eyes of those who actually had enough power to stop war to begin with. The victims were the ones who had little say in how or where the war should have been fought, or how they were supposed to carry on with their lives amidst the plumes of smoke billowing from their burned-down houses and scorched farms. Lives that had been shattered would never be rebuilt the same way again. War had raged for years on the newly found continent, America. As with everything else in history, powers came and tried to conquer by all means necessary. The wars were waged between two major European powers, two coalitions, the British coalition against the French coalition. They wanted natural resources, they wanted prestige, they wanted a new place to spread their beliefs and lifestyles. They wanted everything. War became the answer when diplomatic talks reached a stalemate and agreements turned into meaningless words that no one respected. They imported their wars onto this continent. The battle for power and influence that had long been fought in Europe had now spilled over into America. And with it, they dragged the peaceful natives into the bloodshed, forming coalitions and drawing them into foreign disputes. Thus, war spread, like wings of death covering the continent in the dust of misery and the stench of greed. War became an addiction. One of the British forts was Fort Wellingsworth, located in the Aerobate region, close to what is now the state of Virginia. It sat directly across the river Sharon, a strategic location that allowed logistics to be brought in directly from the Potomac, a major river system that fed into Sharon. The body of water also served as a natural defense against ambushes, the same reason moats were used around European castles. Water provided the first and best protection against intruders. Fort Wellingsworth was massive, spanning several hectares, encircled by 10-meter-high stone walls, with cannons permanently positioned, always ready for battle. The soldiers' barracks lined the northern side of the fort, brick buildings with rows of cots and outdoor kitchens. At the heart of the compound stood a mansion. Yes, a full mansion right in the middle of the fort. It was the seat of Governor-General James Louis Alexander Farrington, the highest British military and administrative authority in the Aerogate region, which also included smaller forts in and around Tuckerberry, Astonbridge, Wapachua, and Elmer. An attempt at normalcy persisted within the mansion's gates. A black steel fence surrounding the property, a man-made pond stocked with fish in the front garden, a tiny sanctuary amidst the pungent scent of gunpowder and the distant thunder of cannon fire. The mansion was made of red brick, with tall windows, a manicured lawn lined with white gravel, and a veranda with cream-colored chairs for admiring the fort walls in the distance. Years ago, when the war began, Arrogate was the first major region decisively claimed by the British. They built Fort Wellingsworth and the governor's mansion as an unmistakable declaration of their dominance over the region. General Farrington was a tall, handsome, and ambitious man in his 50s, having spent most of his life in the military. He was the only son of an aristocratic, though not particularly wealthy, family, fiercely patriotic and proud. A distant uncle had once served the king directly at the palace. Farrington joined the military at 16, a young cadet following the wish of his ailing father, who dreamed of glory for the House of Farrington. Farrington rose swiftly through the ranks, aided by his cunning and agility. A master strategist with the wit of a fox and the ruthlessness to match, he got things done. He married Lady Josephine Campbell, the only daughter of a wealthy London merchant. Her family's money provided him with vital financial support. She was weak-willed and hopelessly in love with him. He, however, never truly loved her. She was too tame, too simple. To him, she was just a necessity, a means to feel complete. She endured his many affairs with women from London's upper society. She stayed silent, turned a blind eye, and focused on being the ideal wife. She smiled at social functions, clung to his arm, waved, looked beautiful, and convinced everyone she was happy, the perfect wife, the perfect homemaker. But she was neither. She wasn't happy, nor perfect. She couldn't even give the general a son. Instead, she bore him a girl, a handicapped girl, born prematurely, sickly, with a left leg that never developed properly. The muscles were weak, and she would need a cane for the rest of her life. A quiet embarrassment. No one talked about her. No one asked. The general never took her anywhere. Lady Josephine was the only one who ever loved her, like a mother should. She taught the girl everything she knew: sewing, painting, crocheting, cooking, dressmaking, poetry, etiquette. The girl grew up knowing her place, timid, quiet, obedient. She never questioned why her father only visited on occasion, or why she was never invited to social events, or why her birthday was always quiet. She was always pale and frail, from infancy into young adulthood. She had long, wavy brown hair and large brown eyes that stood out against her pale skin. She was gifted at sewing. She made beautiful dresses in days, stitched bags for papers, crafted canvas sacks for the gardener's tools, embroidered aprons for the cook, and sewed a silk pouch for the family doctor's pills, whom she saw often due to her poor health. It made her feel useful. It made her feel appreciated. And that felt good. She once sewed a handkerchief for her father, with an eagle pattern. He glanced at it briefly, muttered a thank you, and left for work. It still sits in his drawer, dusty. Lady Josephine and her daughter, now a young lady, never accompanied the general to America. Whispers among high society, echoed by chambermaids and gardeners, suggested that he was too ashamed of his handicapped daughter. Lady Josephine carried the sorrow of a betrayed wife and a failed mother to her grave. She died quietly with only her daughter by her side in their cold London mansion, while General Farrington was far away at Fort Wellingsworth, attending the birthday party of Lady Felicity Grimson, his mistress. The same mistress he brought with him to America. The same mistress just a few years older than his daughter. The same mistress who had shared his bed, wine, and nights long before his wife died. Did the general care? Not particularly. He sent an aide to handle the funeral arrangements and blamed his duties and distance for his absence. But after the funeral, a new headache arose. His daughter. She couldn't stay alone in London. What would people say? He couldn't risk being seen as a heartless father. That might jeopardize his influence at the palace, his government ties, or the promotion he was seeking as commander of the American campaign. No relatives would take her. No man would marry her. She was baggage now. And so, Lady Evelyn Ariana Farrington, the handicapped daughter, sailed reluctantly to America, to live with a father who took her in grudgingly, at Fort Wellingsworth. Chapter 2. More Heartbreak. The decision for her to sail to America was made solely by her father. His aides arranged everything. Evelyn simply had to go along, just like she had with everything else in her life. Be quiet and do what she was supposed to do. The ship had sailed for about 2 months before they arrived at the eastern shore of America, followed by several more days of travel by horse carriage over rough, newly built roads to Fort Wellingsworth, her father's abode. What a different world it was. Evelyn was astonished by the thick forests, the towering mountains, the wide rivers, everything. She had always stayed within the walls of her family mansion in London. Occasionally, she and her mother made quiet visits to distant relatives on their birthdays, never with her father. But that was the extent of her travel. She had never truly seen real mountains before, not the kind that rose so majestically, like the ones she now saw. You couldn't see mountains like those in London. Fort Wellingsworth, at first, terrified the young lady. Towering, rough stone walls loomed above her, thick and forbidding. Perhaps that was how fort walls were meant to be, better to deter intruders than engage them in combat. The air reeked of gunpowder, stale food, half-dried laundry, and human waste. overpowering and suffocating. Her weak lungs responded with a few dry coughs, desperately trying to expel the new irritants that had claimed the air. But the mansion, her new residence, was beautiful. Surrounded by black steel gates adorned with welded patterns, a front garden, and a fish pond, it was a large brick building with high windows and a veranda. She thought it odd to place a mansion in the heart of a fort, but perhaps it made sense in wartime. The fort's thick walls provided far more protection than the gates ever could. Her carriage stopped at the foot of the veranda. No one came to welcome her except a plump, middle-aged servant with pink cheeks and a broad smile that lit up her round face. She seemed genuinely happy to see Evelyn. "Welcome, my lady," the woman chirped as she curtsied, then helped Evelyn down from the carriage, took her walking cane, and assisted with her dress as she straightened her sore back, before handing the cane back. "Thank you," Evelyn whispered, managing a tired smile. Her brown eyes met the woman's cheerful blue ones, and for the first time in days, she felt a flicker of comfort. "I'm Jane Williams, your chambermaid, my lady," she announced proudly, as if it was the best job in the known world. Evelyn couldn't help but laugh softly. Jane was so warm, so lighthearted. A chambermaid would be by her side from dawn to dusk, helping with everything. Having someone as cheerful as Jane to begin and end her days might be a blessing. Her previous maid in London was always stiff and sour, especially after her mother's death. That woman's eyebrows were in a constant knot. She disapproved of Evelyn's dresses, her hair, her plans, everything. Rumor had it she was going through the woman's change and could no longer bear children. She hated young, fertile women, and Evelyn was no exception. Based on her attitude, Evelyn believed it. "My lady?" Jane's voice snapped her out of her thoughts. "Pleased to meet you, Jane," Evelyn replied, giving a slight tilt of her head in acknowledgement. Jane nodded, her graying blonde curls bouncing gently. "Come, let me show you your chamber, my lady. Lads, don't just stand there staring. Bring Lady Evelyn's suitcases to the west wing, third chamber, second floor. Be careful," she barked at the page boys, who sprang into action. It was clear she ran things well and they feared her. Evelyn limped, leaning on her cane, to the second-floor chamber. Her whole body ached. Her head throbbed. She prayed she wasn't falling sick. She wanted to see her father. After weeks on the ship, she missed her mother. Deeply. She cried often in the days after her mother's passing. No one spoke to her in the now-sold London mansion. Her mother had been her only true friend. Life had been confined to a grand house, but a quiet one. She and her mother would spend sunny days sewing, chatting, reading, or sipping tea in the garden. On rainy days, they baked together or learned new dishes from the cook. But now, with her mother gone, she learned what loneliness truly meant. And loneliness hurt. It was sharp, suffocating, relentless. The walls didn't talk back. The sewing needles didn't laugh. Her room felt smaller every day. She felt stuck. And then there was her limp, always her bane. She was 25, old enough to be married with children, but no man had ever come close. No one wanted a crippled wife who walked with a cane at social events. "My lady," Jane's voice again pulled her from her drifting thoughts. They had arrived. Her chamber was quite spacious, a cream-colored couch with wildflower patterns, an oak coffee table, and tall windows flooding the room with sunshine. Thick maroon velvet curtains were embroidered with gold flowers at the corners. Her bed wasn't large but looked cozy, with 2 soft pillows, a thick blue flannel blanket, and white mosquito netting hanging from the 4-poster frame. A wooden door opened to a side room where her bath, clothing cabinets, and drawers were located. Jane opened the eastern door to a small balcony where potted rose plants bathed in light. "I hope you like your chamber, my lady," Jane said gently, watching Evelyn's expression closely. Evelyn didn't answer at first, as her eyes took in the room. Smaller than her London chamber, yes, but warmer, brighter. That was good for her frail health. Sunshine. She ran her fingers across the wooden table, solid, old, with charming natural cracks. A tall vase of red roses stood proudly in the center. "Thank you, Jane. The chamber is beautiful," she said softly, then turned toward Jane. Her cane clicking against the marble floor. "I like it." Jane let out a relieved breath. Now, get yourself comfortable. I'll prepare some tea and biscuits. Would you like that, my lady? Evelyn nodded. Jane vanished. Evelyn took a deep breath and looked around the chamber again. Where is father? That question had haunted her for most of her life. He had only dined with her a few times, visited briefly when she was ill. Always a short visit, a pat on the cheek, a quick, get better soon, then gone. Was that what fatherhood looked like? Was a father always so cold? Evelyn bit her lip. Her legs throbbed. Her head pounded. "Oh, you are here," chirped a cheery, high-pitched voice. Evelyn turned, startled. A woman a few years older than her stood at the door in a yellow-blue satin dress, blonde curls piled high, a powdered face with rouged cheeks, deep red lips, and full breasts peeking from her bodice. She oozed sensuality. Evelyn's cheeks flushed slightly, embarrassed by the cleavage that seemed to stare right at her. Felicity Grimson, the woman who had stolen her father from her mother. "Is this chamber to your liking, Evelyn?" Felicity sauntered in, scanning the room like she owned it. "You're not the lady of the house, and I didn't invite you in." Evelyn's heart pounded with anger. "Yes," she replied icily. She didn't curtsy or tilt her head. No sign of respect. She had none for this woman. Rumors said Felicity had once been a high-class escort before her father picked her up. Elevated her status, and she clearly relished it. Felicity stopped inches from her and stared, eyes cold. Powder on her face seemed to crack as she tilted her head and said, "Now that we live in this mansion together, we should try to get along." "After what you did to my mother?" Evelyn's voice trembled despite her attempt at strength. Felicity smiled, a cruel, contemptuous smile. "I gave your father, the general, what he wants, not just what he needs. Your mother gave him, you." Her eyes drifted pointedly to Evelyn's cane. Evelyn's blood boiled. Her lungs fought for air. Her face burned. "How dare you?" she whispered, dizzy with rage. Felicity laughed, a shrill, mocking giggle no one could believe was sincere. "Ah, I see you two have met." A man's voice rang out from the doorway. Evelyn turned, cheeks wet, heart pounding. "Father." "Dear Evelyn, good to see you again." General Farrington entered and grasped her shoulder. No hug, just a firm shake. "Father, how could you do this to Mother? Did you know how lonely she was? How much she missed you in the final months of her life?" Evelyn whispered, her voice breaking as tears streamed down her face. Her body trembled with sadness, anger, and disgust. Too many feelings at once. "Evelyn, now, we're all here. We could at least try to act like a family, couldn't we? Felicity is, she's important to me. Things were long over between your mother and me." Evelyn tried to hold back the tears, but failed. Wetness streaked down her face as she choked out, "No," over and over. Shaking her head, her voice broken, her nose running. "Come, dear Felicity, let's give Evelyn some space," the general said, as he gently took Felicity by the waist and led her out. Dear Felicity. He never even called Evelyn dear. Evelyn collapsed onto the floor, her body racked with sobs. The tears wouldn't stop. Just like her heartbreak, real, raw, and unstoppable. One thing was painfully clear. It had been a mistake to come all the way to America. There was nothing for her here. Absolutely nothing. Only more heartbreak. Chapter 3. We are at war. That night, Evelyn had a nightmare. She was locked in a white room, chains binding her hands and feet. She screamed, but nobody heard. Nobody came to help her. Sweat tumbled down her face as she writhed, fruitlessly trying to free herself. She was not alone in that room. There was someone else. Or rather, something else. An animal unlike any she had seen before. It resembled a wolf, big, muscular, as tall as her waist, with shiny black fur, deep icy blue eyes, and long, sharp canine teeth that glistened with an aura of death and fearsome power. It circled her, doing nothing else, just circling, and once in a while it would stop and stare. Yes, it stared at her with those deep, icy blue eyes. Suddenly it growled, a long, deep, guttural growl that bared all its teeth. Evelyn screamed. She shot up from bed with tears rolling down her cheeks and sweat soaking her sleeping gown. "My lady! My lady!" Jane burst into her chamber, having heard the screams. Evelyn tried to stop her tears, but her body trembled uncontrollably. The dream had been too real, too close. "Bad dream, my lady?" Jane asked softly as she sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulder and gently rubbing her back in comfort. "Black wolf. I was locked in a room with a black wolf, Jane." Evelyn's voice shook and trailed off. "Black wolf," Jane echoed, her tone gentle. Evelyn nodded vigorously. "It was just a dream. Maybe you still need to get used to this new place. Would you like me to bring you some warm milk to help you sleep?" Evelyn shook her head. She felt a little better now and didn't want Jane to lose sleep over her. Jane nodded, helped her back into bed, and left. Evelyn closed her eyes, pretending to sleep so Jane wouldn't stay. But she couldn't sleep. She lay there, blanket pulled up to her chin, haunted by the dream's vivid images, the black wolf. Now that she thought about it, it hadn't seemed threatening. It had growled, yes, but only as it stood in front of her, protecting her from something else. The next morning, Evelyn received an invitation to have breakfast with her father. Yes, an actual invitation just to see her parent after so many months apart. "Are you ready, my lady? The general is waiting in the dining room," Jane said as Evelyn finished braiding her thick, wavy hair into a bun at the nape of her neck. Evelyn nodded and shakily stood as Jane handed her the walking cane. "I hope Felicity isn't there," Evelyn thought as she made her way down the corridor. The white walls were lined with cold, unfamiliar portraits of people she didn't know. None of them looked particularly friendly. Large vases of geraniums on small tables added an eerie calm to the hallway. She entered the dining room. A grand oval table of glazed wood sat at its center, surrounded by 12 chairs. Her father sat at one end, busy buttering toast. "Good morning, Father," Evelyn greeted gently. Adding a curtsy out of respect, General Farrington looked up, nodded, and took a breath. "Now, Evelyn, have a seat. What would you like? There's a spread of breakfast items, or the cook can make you something else. How about a good morning? How are you, Evelyn?" She sighed silently. "You might want to sit at the other end of the table," he added. "I'm expecting company. I hope you don't mind. I'm meeting with the Mohegan chief during breakfast. It's more efficient that way." Evelyn nodded, at least grateful Felicity wasn't there. She took her place at the far end of the table. "The Mohegan are among our most important allies in the region," her father continued. "They know this land like the back of their hands. If we want to win this war against the French, I need to stay on their good side." Soon after, 3 men entered. The Mohegan. Their attire starkly differed from the London gentlemen she knew. Dark brown pants, black tunics, necklaces made of animal claws and teeth, earrings of feathers. The chief wore a feathered headband. He appeared around 50, stout, brown-skinned, thick gray hair to his shoulders, regal and nonsense. "Chief Awahali," the general greeted, standing. The chief nodded. Evelyn stood quickly, unsure of the proper greeting. His deep gray eyes locked on her, piercing through her. Panic surged. "Do you curtsy to a chief?" She did, curtsying low. "Who is she?" the chief asked flatly. "My daughter," her father replied. "She just arrived from London yesterday. I assure you she's no spy. I hope you don't mind. She's had little time with me, and today will be busy." Evelyn bit her lip as realization sank in. She was only invited to breakfast because there was no other time. Still, she nodded and forced a smile. The chief tilted his head slightly. "Pleased to meet you, my lady," he said in a deep, respectful voice. "The pleasure is mine, Chief Awahali," she replied politely. The chief offered a faint smile that eased her tension. "I came to ask you for a favor," he said, getting straight to the point as he sat beside the general, his attendants flanking him. "You are our closest ally, Chief. Of course, whatever you ask, I'll consider it carefully." "The Tarag," the chief declared. The general paused mid-sip of coffee. What about them? I thought you and the Turag have long been locked on territorial disputes around the Sharwan River? We managed until Dalar came. Dalar? The general asked, intrigued. Their new chief. He seized power in a bloody takeover. The chief replied, his tone grim. The previous chief was hung and skinned alive before his people, added the attendant to the chief's left. Evelyn coughed, suddenly unable to eat. No one noticed. Dalar is evil, General. He worships the evil god Yaureth, who grants his warriors immunity to our weapons. His forces now surround our northern Sharwan border, ready to strike. The general twiddled his thumbs, uneasy. What would you like us to do? He asked, carefully. Evelyn squirmed, dread rising. Send soldiers, with rifles. Perhaps your rifles can harm these cursed warriors. Help us defend our northern border. If it falls, our encampment will fall. Then they'll overrun Elmer and Wapachua, and finally arrogate your fort. The general pursed his lips in silence. He had avoided the Turag, hostile, unpredictable, unwilling to negotiate. But now his strongest ally was asking for help. General, the chief pressed, aware of the stakes. General Farrington straightened, rubbed his eyes, and exhaled. How many soldiers do you need? Evelyn felt a chill. Only evil could skin a man alive. 200, at least, one attendant answered. 200 is a lot, the general replied. Will we engage directly or wait for their move? We attack, the chief said. A surprise attack at dawn. We mapped their spies and taken care of them. If your soldiers move under night's cover, we can strike first. The general glanced at Evelyn. She looked pale. Let's do it, he finally said. Evelyn barely registered what followed. Her heart sank. She felt dread. Something terrible would happen, and she was right. The attack on the Turag was a disaster, bloody and costly. 200 soldiers were sent. 15 returned, mangled, broken. 9 died the following day. The commander had lost both legs and his mind. 2 were captured, their mutilated remains discovered days later. The general raged in his office, screaming at his second-in-command. A burly officer trembling with fear, Evelyn tried to offer comfort. Father, she said softly, limping inside. He looked up, face flushed with fury and sweat. Evelyn, not now. I'm sorry for what happened. You don't understand, he bellowed. These monsters don't bleed from bullets. We're in deep trouble now, stupid girl. We're waging a war rifles cannot win. Jenkins, he shouted. Yes, sir? Have you sent messengers to Chief Awahali? Emergency meeting, tomorrow morning. Do it now, or I'll have your head on a pole outside. Spit flew from his mouth, splashing poor Jenkins, who fled. The general turned to his daughter, defeated. We're at war now, Evelyn. A war with evil itself. Forces no rifle, no bayonet, no cannon can stop. A war we may never win. His voice quivered. He could handle thousands of French soldiers, but this? He felt cold. Cold and afraid. Evelyn stood frozen. Her thoughts drifted to Lady Felicity Grinson, who, at that very moment, was likely wallpapering her chamber with the latest fashionable patterns. Chapter 4. The Lords of the Black Wolves. Evelyn had always been frail and had spent much of her childhood indoors due to her weak health. But the upside, if there was one, was that she had plenty of time to read voraciously on a variety of topics, from geography to art to history, politics, and poetry. Books were her best friends. They were always there. No matter how alone she felt, she could always grab one and start reading whenever she wanted. She knew the background of the wars in America. But this Turag tribe, with warriors who could not be wounded by rifles or cannons, had truly stumped her. None of the facts or stories she had read offered any explanation for it. The mansion felt different after the bloody defeat by the Turag. A cloud of dark mood had descended upon it. Fear swept the grounds with a ferocious yet silent pull. draining everyone of whatever little hope remained of ever seeing their families again across the ocean. The staff, from the kitchen to the garden, moved somberly and quietly. The general was furious, screaming at the top of his lungs over everything. The soldiers were frantic. New drills were conducted. Fort walls were fortified. They moved like zombies, performing tasks without thought, simply trying to stave off the pain and death they knew was coming. Felicity Grimson cried and locked herself in her chamber. Much to Evelyn's relief, she really didn't want to deal with her right now. Evelyn didn't cry. She was quietly subdued. This Tarag, with its evil chief dollar, felt unfathomable, unforgivable, yet now unpreventable. There was no other choice but to face it. It had always been like that with her life, her health, her father, her mother, her limp. Unfathomable, unforgivable, unpreventable tragedy. But she went on anyway because the only alternative was death, and she wasn't ready to die. Not yet. That night, the moon was bright. A grayish halo circled Earth's companion with an unmistakable glow. Some clouds floated nearby, but none truly covered it. The calls of crickets sounded faint tonight, and the air was damp with the leftover humidity from the previous rain, heavy with the scent of wet soil. "You're not tired, my lady?" Jane's voice startled Evelyn slightly as she sat by the railing of her balcony. "No, Jane, I couldn't sleep." "Ah," Jane sighed as she sat beside her. "You don't have to stay with me, Jane. You can rest," Evelyn whispered with a faint smile. Her long, wavy hair wasn't tied, and strands blew gently around her face in the night breeze. "No, my lady, misery needs company." Evelyn sighed deeply. What would happen if the Tarag attacked again, with those wicked soldiers? She asked, not really directing the question to Jane, more to the moon above. "We all die, most likely," Jane replied matter-of-factly, like it was something she accepted long ago. "Are you afraid, Jane?" "Afraid? Oh yes, my lady. Very, very, very afraid." Jane nodded firmly, her pink, friendly face now pale beneath the moonlight. "Tomorrow, they'll have a big meeting to decide what to do," she added. "I know, Jane. I wonder what kind of solution they'll come up with." Jane sighed and gazed toward the distant mountain range, majestic, dark, unmoved. Their jagged rocky peaks pierced the night sky. There was this old woman, a Mohegan woman, who used to bring forest fruits to the fort. It was part of the alliance agreement between the Mohegan and us, exchanging goods and food. She and I would sit for tea before she returned to her encampment. Jane's gaze lingered on the mountains. "Ah, that sounds nice, Jane." "She told me a legend of," Jane paused. "Of what, Jane?" "Of the immortal mountain guards, my lady, the Alterae. They guard the sacred Mohegan Mountain. The lords of the Black Wolves." Her voice trembled slightly. Black Wolves. The image from her dream returned to Evelyn's mind. She shook her head. "It's just folklore, Jane. The Mohegan truly believe they exist. Maybe they can help us. They're immortal after all." Evelyn decided not to argue. The lords of the Black Wolves. Immortal mountain guards. Folklore. They sat in silence for a while before Jane helped her to bed. She went to sleep with the refreshed image of her dream vivid in her mind. The next morning, Evelyn sat in her chamber while Jane brought a tray of bread and tea for breakfast, then helped bundle her hair into a simple bun at the nape of her neck. But Evelyn was quiet. Her eyes burned with dryness, and her breath came shallow and fast. She was anxious. There was commotion outside. The Mohegan had arrived, and soon there were heated discussions in the living room. She could hear her father shouting angrily, "We have to find a way to win this war." Evelyn slowly stepped out of her room and sat beside the curling steel staircase leading down. From there, she could hear everything clearly. It wasn't very ladylike to eavesdrop like this, but today she didn't care. She saw her father, Jenkins, and 3 other officers, all flushed with anxiety and possibly fear. They had attacked a tribe, been crushed, and now faced war with an enemy no bullet could pierce. Arrogance. It had always been the general's bane. A poisonous potion that killed without lifting a finger. Wrapped in a fog of entitlement and dense cockiness that clouded all common sense. Now they were paying the price. Blood had been spilled. More, much more, would follow. In the living room, the general sat face to face with Chief Awahali. The chief had brought 4 attendants, all somber and serious. An elderly woman also stood among them, 60s or 70s, wearing a bright red tunic, her black hair adorned with colorful bird feathers, a necklace of bear claws, and a belt woven from young tree roots. She was Nadavari, the Mohegans' chief shaman. "This war is your fault," the general shouted, pounding the table, his fiery glare locked on Chief Awahali, who shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent. "We told you this enemy, this Dalar, this Tarag tribe was dangerous." The chief shot back. "They can't be hurt by cannons and guns. Anything else you forgot to tell me? Maybe they can fly in at nightfall and slit our throats while we sleep?" The general's voice teetered on the edge of hysteria. "Be quiet, all of you." Nadvari's calm, deep voice cut through the tension. No one wanted the battle to end this way. The Mohegan knew these warriors couldn't be harmed by arrows either. "You tried your mighty rifles and cannons. You're so proud of them anyway." Her gray-green eyes scanned the room, now quiet. "We are allies, gentlemen. We fought battles against the French together. Never once did we question each other's loyalty. We must trust one another now." Her words were slow and deliberate, each one weighted with meaning. "Then do you have any idea how to win this impossible war?" the general asked, now subdued. Nadvari stood and walked slowly to the window, gazing north toward her homeland and its surrounding mountains. "We must go. Up the mountain," she whispered. The general blinked in confusion as the chief and his attendants bowed their heads. "Mountain? What do you mean? Run and hide up there?" His tone was laced with mockery. Nadvari turned, her eyes like steel. "Nadvari, I don't think," the chief sighed. But she interrupted him gently. "Do we have much choice, Awahali?" "Explain to me," the general said. "We must summon the Immortals," Nadvari said calmly. The general rolled his eyes. "Immortals? Really? Do they come with wings?" Nadvari silenced him with a cold glare. "Altaray, the lords of the Black Wolves, the immortal mountain guards who dwell atop Waya Mountain, the only black mountain visible to the north," she said, motioning toward the window. The general followed her gaze, and for the first time, noticed the blackened peak. "Waya, sacred to the Mohegan, where our god Hatar buried his treasures and secrets. The guards, there are 7 of them. The 7 Altaray, their hair is as dark as a moonless night, and their eyes as blue as a spring sky, as written in the scrolls. Takalathia, our first shaman, forbade us for generations from summoning them," the chief reminded her. "We are in hour of need, Awahali. She said we could use the spell in our darkest hour." The spell she stole from Hatar's heart during a false romance? She was executed for that, and made us promise never to summon the Immortals, unless it was in our darkest hour, Nadvari insisted, her chin lifted in defiance. "What makes you think the spell will even work?" the chief asked, exhausted. The general sighed, deeper lines creasing his face. "I don't know, but what other option do we have? Either we do this, or surrender our lands by sunrise." Surrender without a fight was unthinkable. The chief finally nodded. "General," he asked gently, "Dear God, I don't know what else will unleash," the general whispered. But he nodded anyway, a small, tentative gesture. "Let's go up the mountain," he said, sweat soaking through his uniform. Evelyn felt cold sweat trickle down her spine. The mountain guards, Would they help them? Chapter 5: The Northern Star. The rest of the day felt like a bad dream for Evelyn. Her father was busy preparing for tomorrow's trip with the Mohegans. He was angry and scared, she could sense it. The Mohegans were solemn, holding a quiet prayer session on the veranda, led by their shaman in low, humming, continuous hymns. Officers rushed around, scrambling to fulfill the general's orders. They would need to travel light. No uniforms, nothing that could draw unwanted attention. Only a handful of soldiers would accompany the general and the Mohegans, and Evelyn heard the same plans being whispered anxiously over and over. She retreated to her chamber, heart pounding, jumping at every sound. She tried to sew, but pricked her fingers so many times that droplets of bright red blood stained the blue silk scarf in her lap. And Felicity, oh, Felicity was the last person she wanted to see that day. "I thought to come by and have a chat with you, Evelyn." Felicity sauntered in without invitation, wearing a purple dress with gold floral embroidery and her golden curls spilling over bare shoulders. Evelyn turned, startled. "I'm not sure we have that much to chat about, Felicity," she answered coldly. "Evelyn, listen, dear. We're in deep trouble, all of us in this fort. You're in the deepest trouble of all," Felicity hissed. Evelyn said nothing. "You, with your limp, you can't even run," Felicity sneered, her blue eyes glinting with cruelty. She loved to wound Evelyn, the rightful lady of the house, a symbol of everything Felicity could never be. A prostitute who had climbed with seduction, Felicity knew she would never be a real lady like Evelyn. "I'm handicapped, Felicity. I've learned to live with that. No need for reminders," Evelyn replied quietly but firmly. She had no space in her mind today for Felicity's venom. "Your father didn't even tell me about you or your mother when we met. I thought he was just a lonely officer looking for company." Felicity smirked. Evelyn took a breath. "Would it have mattered to you even if you knew he had a wife and child?" she asked softly, eyes fixed on Felicity before turning back to her stitching. Felicity scanned the room, then shrugged. "No, he gives me what I want. I give him what he wants. Fair enough." Evelyn's heart throbbed with pain. She stood, grasped her cane, and walked to the door. "Felicity, I have things to do. Please leave." Felicity looked startled. "Well, your father's going to hear a few things about you." Evelyn smirked, unbothered. "Let him hear it." But the general was too preoccupied to care. That night, Evelyn went to his office, hoping for a moment, just one, but he simply waved her away. She bit her lip and stepped out onto the veranda. Gripping the railing so tightly her knuckles turned white, she stared up at the moon. The night was clear and beautiful, yet her thoughts raced. Would she die here? Why had her father chosen Felicity over her and her mother? Why did being handicapped matter so much? Wasn't she still human? Why? "The moon is beautiful, full and clothed with light," came a soft voice. Evelyn turned to see the Mohegan shaman approaching. "I'm Nadvari. I know you've been listening to us by the stairs," she said kindly. Evelyn nodded, offering a faint smile. "I'm sorry. It wasn't very ladylike, but I was worried," Nadvari finished, and Evelyn nodded again. "How can you not be? In times like these, dear shaman," she murmured. "Nadvari, my child. Just call me Nadvari." Evelyn studied the woman. She had a warm, grandmotherly presence, a kind soul. Life as the unwanted daughter with a limp had taught Evelyn to read people. She could sense Nadvari's goodness. Nadvari sighed and shook her head gently. "We all made a terrible mistake, child. Now we must fix it, or we all die." Evelyn shivered. She didn't want to die. "The moon is beautiful tonight. Hopefully, that's a good sign. And that star to the north, the brightest one. It's called Naroya in our language. The northern star. It's good. It's good," Nadvari murmured, lost in thought. "Will the mountain guards help us?" Evelyn asked. Nadvari sighed. "I don't know, my child. No one I know has ever met them. From legend, they are compassionate, but they can be ruthless." "Who are they, really?" Evelyn whispered. "Warriors," Nadvari said, eyes shining. "Powerful warriors of the god Hatar. Protectors of the mountain. They've lived there since the first roots of the trees. The Lords of the Black Wolves. Evelyn fell silent. Black wolves. Nadvari looked to the star again. The Naroya, my lady. The star. It's called the Lover's Star in Mohegan. It signals two souls that will meet in love. It's said to be incredibly lucky for couples to marry beneath it. Evelyn had no interest in the Lover's Star. Do you have a lover? Nadvari asked, catching her completely off guard. No, Evelyn stammered, turning red. Nadvari smiled gently, patting her shoulder. You will. Soon. The Naroya is up there, it is certain, she said with conviction. Evelyn let out a dry laugh. No one wants someone like me, Nadvari. I've grown used to being unwanted. Nadvari shook her head. There will be someone who will see past your limp and straight to your heart. I know it. The Naroya, child, the Naroya. Evelyn nodded, not wanting to argue. Nadvari, tomorrow, please look out for my father. He gets angry and careless, but please. Her voice trembled. Her father, the only family she had left. The man who never really saw her. The man who was embarrassed of her. Nadvari paused, looking at her deeply. You're a good daughter, young lady. With a final glance at the northern star, she left. The next morning, the fort stirred early. All preparations complete, the general, 3 senior officers, 15 soldiers, Chief Awahali, Nadvari, and the Mohegan entourage mounted their horses and prepared to depart. Father, Evelyn limped as quickly as her cane allowed, standing. Beside his horse, she looked up. Be careful, that was all she could say. He nodded. You too, Evie. Evie. Her mother used to call her that. Evelyn breathed deeply. God, please help them, please help us. The trek to the mountain was quiet and uneventful. They traveled north along the Sharon River, then into the flatlands of redwoods and sequoias. Towering trees, ancient and strong. They had entered the Mohegan outer border. Silence hung over them. Occasionally, they stopped to water the horses and eat simple meals. By the early morning of the 3rd day, they reached a grassland that led to Waya Mountain, the mountain of the wolves. The mountain stood black and still, jagged rocks protruding in all directions. Even birds didn't sing here. There was an eerie stillness, a supernatural quiet. We've never come here before, Chief Awahali murmured, regret heavy in his voice. For generations, his people had avoided the sacred mountain, and now he led them straight to it. I hope this was the right decision, Awahali, the general whispered. The chief didn't answer. I hope so too. Nadvari scanned the landscape. The 3 of us will go up the mountain. The rest will make camp down here, she ordered sharply, ignoring the military hierarchy. She had no time for protocol, survival came first. The general and the chief didn't argue. They prepared to climb. What do we do here? A trembling voice asked. It was one of the general's subordinates, sweat rolling down. His face, eyes wide with dread. Nadvari glanced at him, then at the mountain, then back at him, tilting her head compassionately. If we don't come back in 3 days, you and your friends run. Leave everything. Just run. Run fast and don't look back. Do you hear me? The man stood frozen, mouth agape, eyes blank. Do you hear me, young man? Nadvari repeated, louder this time. He swallowed hard and mouthed a barely audible, yes. Chapter 6, The Mountain Guards. The general, the chief, and the shaman went up the rocky mountain. The mountain was not steep, and the way up was not too tedious. They camped under the night sky, barely exchanging any words among themselves, each one keeping to their own thoughts. The next morning, they made their final trek to the top. The summit was a grassland, dotted with small to medium-sized, irregularly shaped black rocks that jutted out of the dark soil and peeked through green-yellowish grass. A morning fog descended, blanketing the land in a thin mist that wrapped around the 3 voyagers. It was like a gentle white curtain slowly pulling back, revealing more of the grassland as they walked toward the center. And then, the mist revealed something else, a tall, enormous black structure. As they drew closer, they realized what it was, 7 massive, round black rocks stacked atop one another. The sight was awe-inspiring and clearly not formed by nature. Each rock had a diameter of about 3 meters, and the precise way they were stacked indicated it was a monument of some kind. For several moments, they stood in silence, overwhelmed by what stood before them. Ta Calathea wrote in her scroll about the Sergus, the rock monument built by the god Hathor himself. Nadvari whispered, her eyes fixed on the stones. Cautiously, they approached the monument and inspected it closely, bent at the waist, eyes scanning every detail. At the base of the monument, they found a carving in gold letters that read Ra Halagar Nar Altare, Vera vos Hellas Tharan, Aristera dos Eltar, which Nadvari translated as, "This is the land of the Altare. Come and state your wish, or go with your peace." 7 rocks, for 7 mountain guards, she murmured, her wrinkled fingers gently caressing the gold letters. Behind her, the 2 men exchanged nervous glances. "Don't touch it, Nadvari," warned the general, his heart gripped by the uneasy feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Ignoring him, Nadvari moved closer, running her fingers along the rocks above the base. "Just summon the Immortals already, Nadvari, so we can get this over with," sighed the chief. Nadvari turned, straightening her back. "Men, be patient, will you?" Carefully, she retrieved an old scroll from a brown leather pouch fastened around her waist. "Are you ready, gentlemen?" she asked, eyeing the 2 men with such intense focus that they squirmed. "Let's hope this isn't another mistake," muttered the general under his breath, while the chief simply nodded. Nadvari unrolled the scroll and began to speak in a deep voice. "Altare, the honorable mountain guards, I am Nadvari, the 489th descendant of the great Takalathea, the first shaman of the Mohegan people, the one who aided our god Hathor in his battle against the sky dragons and the hell tigers. I summon you now, for our people are in desperate need." She paused, then began chanting the ancient spell Takalathea had stolen from Hathor's heart. In the cloak of darkness, in the shadow of light, they keep watch, they listen, they the chosen ones, they whose names etched in blades of leaves and drops of dew. Lords of the wolves, warriors of the gods, the mountain guards, come now, come to my aid. Silence followed. The wind howled louder, and the rustling of leaves made the voyagers flinch. They held their breath, waiting for something, anything. Then they saw them, the Altari. 7 figures appeared, slowly encircling them from all directions, emerging from the mist like ghosts. The voyagers felt a chill. They couldn't run now. The mountain guards had answered the call. As the figures came into view, the 3 saw that they were tall, muscular beings dressed in black tunics, pants, and leather boots, with white belts, black breastplates engraved with golden wolf heads, and flowing black capes. Their long, jet-black hair fell to their shoulders, and their light blue eyes gleamed like the spring sky. Each bore a unique tattoo of 3 characters on their fair foreheads. Their weapons, glowing white bows with gold carvings and short white daggers sheathed at their belts, added to their intimidating presence. Accompanying them were massive black wolves, regal and calm, their sleek fur darker than night, their glistening canines razor-sharp. These beasts were twice the size of normal wolves. The 3 voyagers knew, in that moment, that their lives rested in the hands of these ancient beings. "I am Award. We have come in honor of your summon," spoke one of the guards, his voice deep and commanding. Award appeared to be the eldest and leader, distinguished by a white band around his forehead engraved with golden characters. The voyagers quickly bowed, offering their respect. "We have come to ask for your help, magnificent Altare," Nadvari said, her voice trembling. Award's piercing eyes held their gaze until they dropped their heads in submission. "Why have you come to us?" he asked, eyes unblinking. Nadvari swallowed hard, but the general answered, "Because we are at war with the evil Dalar and the god Yarith." Award turned to him, and the general immediately regretted speaking. The icy blue gaze chilled him to the bone. "We do not involve ourselves in human wars. Whatever evil you face, it is not our concern," Award replied, eyes narrowing. Nadvari bristled. "How can it not be? Thousands of years ago, Takalathea helped your master Hathor defeat the sky dragons and the hell tigers. Yes, and afterward she seduced Hathor with false affection and stole the immortal spell from his heart." Award snapped, his eyes flaring an even deeper blue. Chief Awahali turned away in shame, having hoped the Altare would overlook the past. Takalathea was executed for that. Was that not punishment enough? Now thousands of Mohican women, children, and elders will die if Dalar wins." Nadzari cried, trembling. Ord was silent. The other guards stared intently. "How, at many women and children are in your main camp?" asked the youngest of the 7. "Around 300 women, 150 children, and 80 elderly," Chief Awahali replied. Suddenly, the Altarai grew tense. They looked at the sky, then at one another with concern. Their sharp senses had caught something. "What is it?" Nadvari asked. Ord closed his eyes. "A woman is in danger, being attacked by Terag spies." "What? Who?" the general panicked. "A lady with a walking cane. She's fighting to defend her honor." Ord answered. The general turned white. The chief stared at him in horror. "My daughter! That's my daughter! I have to go. She's going to be, oh gods, violated," the general shouted, preparing to run, but Nadvari grabbed his arm. "We're 3 days away. We can't help her," she yelled, panic-stricken. She turned to the Altarai. Please help Evelyn. I beg you, oh magnificent Altarai." The guards exchanged glances. "We have to help, Ord," the young one insisted. The Voyagers now knew they had one ally among the 7. Ord sighed. "So be it. Arend, go." Arend nodded and turned. "Arend, do not get involved beyond ensuring the woman's safety," Ord warned. Arend nodded again, then vanished in a gust of wind, his massive black wolf sprinting beside him. The Voyagers watched, stunned. "Do not worry, humans. Arend can handle those spies," one of the guards reassured. Ord stood quietly, eyes fixed on the direction Arend had gone, deep concern creasing his brow. Chapter 7: An Answer to Her Prayer. There was no news about the general and the entourage who had gone up Waya Mountain to seek the Immortals. 2 days passed, and Evelyn was beside herself with worry. Her health had been deteriorating a little more over the past few days, most likely due to the stress she felt from everything that had happened. She woke up that morning with a headache and a light fever. Jane came in with a cup of chamomile tea for her. "I wonder what happened to Father, Jane." Her voice was weak, and she looked pale. Jane came closer, handed her the tea, and sat beside her bed. "No news means good news, my lady." "No, that may not be true," Evelyn sighed quietly. She sipped her tea, and the warm liquid soothed her throat. She felt a bit better. She gazed out the window and saw sunshine, majestic and warming. "Maybe a bit of fresh air would be good for me," she murmured, eyes focused on the light outside. "Do you feel well enough to go outside, my lady?" asked Jane, her eyes scanning Evelyn's pale face. She wasn't sure it was a good idea. Evelyn nodded. Yes, she needed out. She'd go mad from worry if she stayed inside these walls much longer. From far off, she could hear the sound of the Charon, the flowing water crashing lightly against rocks. Gentle, yet powerful. Water and stone, the meeting of two worlds, two forces that touched and changed one another. Water bursting into bubbles, rocks slowly shifting shape. An eternal dance. Evelyn closed her eyes, drawn in by the sound. "I'm going out today, Jane." "Are you sure, my lady?" "Yes, the weather is nice." Jane nodded and helped her get ready, though deep creases of worry etched her brow. "I'll get some fresh fruit and meet you here again, my lady. We can go soon," Jane said after tying Evelyn's hair. "No, Jane, I'll go by myself." "My lady, are you?" "Yes, I'm sure. Jane, I'm not a child. I can do a lot by myself. Please ignore the walking cane." Jane sighed, furrowed her brow, and gave a reluctant, nearly invisible nod. Evelyn took her walking cane and moved as quickly as it allowed. She stepped out of the mansion into the fort, past watching soldiers. No one stopped her. They all knew who she was. "You can't go out, my lady," a soldier finally said as she reached the main gate. Like a puppy eager to play outside. Evelyn sighed. "Just a little bit. There. By the river. Please." She didn't care if she sounded like she was begging. Her brown eyes searched the soldier's face. She knew he had orders, and she hated pushing him. But the sound of the river, she needed it. "My lady, it's dangerous to go out alone," came a new voice. Jenkins, her father's second-in-command, informed of her movements and clearly interrupted mid-breakfast, crumbs of dried bread still clinging to his mouth. "Jenkins, please, I just want to look at the river." Jenkins' red, round face twisted in thought. After a pause, He relented. Fine, but I'll assign a guard to follow you, and you cannot go beyond the redwood forest. He gave a sharp chin flick for extra authority. Evelyn nodded firmly, agreed. Finally she was out, like a pup finally allowed to roam. She delighted in the greenery. Birds chirped, deer grazed, and squirrels darted between trees. Her guard, a young soldier about her age, trailed a few steps behind, visibly bored and clearly hating his assignment. Evelyn walked slowly, cane occasionally catching in the rocky soil. She'd stop, unstick it, and carry on. They followed the riverbank until they reached the border of the redwood forest, where redwood and sequoia trees towered above them, massive, ancient sentinels that inspired awe. "My lady, we have to stop here," the soldier shouted. Evelyn turned and nodded. She understood. She stepped to the river. The water was clear, shallow, with smooth rocks of all shapes and sizes beneath. Evelyn dropped her cane, knelt, and dipped her hands into the water, splashing her face with its refreshing chill. Again and again, she soaked her skin. She loved the cool touch, the cleansing sensation. She looked downstream at the ancient trees. Beautiful. Then she busied herself collecting shiny stones and small shells along the bank, black, brown, some striped like tiny ribbons. She lined them up by size, creating a little battalion of nature's soldiers. She smiled to herself. Suddenly, a loud guttural scream. Evelyn's head snapped up. The guard was down, an arrow buried in his stomach. He writhed, then went still. Panic surged through her as she wobbled upright. Trouble. 3 men burst from the redwood trees where they'd been hiding, taking advantage of the dense shrubs and colossal trunks. They had shot the guard. Now they were coming for her. Evelyn scrambled for her cane. Too slow. One man slapped her, grabbed the cane, and snapped it in two. The others seized her. "No, no, let me go," she cried, fighting wildly, but it was no use. They dragged her into the forest, one clamping a hand over her mouth. Fear consumed her. Her mind blanked. She was bleeding, stunned, helpless. Her lips and cheek burned from the slap. She fought hard but was overwhelmed and sobbing, and no one, absolutely no one, heard her. They threw her to the ground near a redwood tree surrounded by shrubs. Evelyn looked up at them, ugly, dirty, red-eyed men with scarred faces and rotting teeth that reeked of alcohol, decay, and filth. She tried to stand, but one of them pinned her down. Evelyn knew what was coming. She'd rather die than lose her honor. She screamed, punched, flailed her arms. The man's stench choked her. He smothered her cries with his palm. "Ha ha, come on, Tark. Finish quick so we get our turn too," the others jeered, laughing cruelly. Evelyn's strength drained. Fear and despair crushed her like a deer beneath a lion's claws. Then, crash, bark shook beside her. A gust of wind swept her cheek. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw it, an arrow, glowing white, embedded in the tree bark, just inches from her neck. Even closer to Tark's cheek. Extreme precision. A warning. Tark leapt back, shocked. His friends froze. Evelyn saw him, the young man who had loosed the arrow. Tall, muscular, cloaked in black with a white belt. Dark hair, piercing light blue eyes. His forehead bore 3 strange characters she didn't recognize. Is he even human? There was something otherworldly about him, warmth and dread swirling together. He had come from deep within the forest, and he wasn't alone. A black wolf stood beside him. Evelyn prayed, "Please, please let this be help." 3 men and 1 woman. "Have you no honor?" His voice was deep, slicing the air with contempt. "Go while we still let you live. Stay out of this, maggot. You can have her after we're done." Tark snarled. They'd been staking out the fort for days as Tarog spies, hiding among leaves by day and in caves by night, driven by lust, hunger, and a primal need that drowned out reason or fear. Evelyn sobbed quietly. She stared through tear-blurred eyes at the young man, her mind screaming, "Please don't leave me. Please help me." The man turned, locking eyes with her. "I will not go. I will not go until the lady is safe." An answer to her prayer. Chapter 8. The Blind Warrior. The crooks were incensed. They looked at one another with rage that quickly engulfed them. "Then we will kill you and feed your corpse to the bears," hissed Tark. His eyes grew wilder, bloodshot, from too much alcohol and a lack of sleep. He signaled to his two comrades to get ready to attack. The black wolf now growled, bent its back, and bared its sharp teeth, ready for combat. The man unsheathed a short white glowing dagger from his belt and stared at the crooks. Glowing dagger, glowing arrow. Ah, if I am not mistaken, you are an Altaray, the mountain guard, Tark shouted. His eyes widened, and he pulled Evelyn up. Her muffled cry grew louder as Tark yanked her by her long hair and used her as a human shield. The man quickly turned his head toward Tark. His stare was expressionless, without even a blink, and Evelyn could now feel Tark's legs shaking. I will kill you if you hurt her. And that is a promise, the man warned. His light blue eyes seemed to grow darker as his anger rose, though his expression remained unreadable. Altaray, the immortal mountain guard. Now Evelyn knew who the man was. He looked younger than she ever imagined a mountain guard would. Evelyn felt a swirling mix of emotions she couldn't explain. Altaray wasn't just a legend. I am, indeed, an Altaray, and the three of you are spies, crouched in the woods like worms and maggots, feeding off rot. Spies of Tarag, he said. His voice low but clear, his deep disgust obvious. The three spies shuddered. If you can handle my two helpers there, then you will have the honor of facing me, shouted Tark. His breath reeked, his eyes were wild, and his legs, oh, his legs shook with fear. Evelyn knew the burly jerk was terrified. I am ready when you two are, the Altaray said, opening his arms in a sign of readiness. The two spies attacked. Evelyn watched, wide-eyed. The Altaray's white dagger flashed around. He moved swiftly, always defensive, never offensive. He wasn't trying to hurt them, thought Evelyn, yet his calm, calculated movements made her wonder how much damage he could do if he really tried. The man tired the crooks out, then began delivering kicks and punches that knocked them off balance. Tark's grip around Evelyn's neck tightened as he used her as a human shield. From the corner of her eye, she saw the black wolf. It stood tall, chest puffed, tail raised, eyes fixed on the fight. A noble creature, Evelyn thought. Suddenly, Tark shouted, Altaray, look what I will do to this lady. Evelyn went cold. The jerk was desperate. Too late. She heard her skirt tearing around her legs. Her muffled cry turned into sobs. Her body trembled, and she knew her legs were exposed, bare to a few centimeters above her knees. She felt the cold wind bite at her skin as Tark humiliated her. The fight stopped. Tark, knowing his comrades would never win, played dirty. The Altaray's fury was silent but fierce. Evelyn wept hard, trying to cover her exposed legs. How dare you, the Altaray hissed. His deadly stare was fixed on Tark. Someone was going to die. The remaining crooks thought it was the perfect time to attack while his focus was on Tark. They were wrong. Dead wrong. The black wolf lunged, sending one of them flying before pinning him and tearing into his neck. The man screamed in agony. The Altaray turned and easily knocked the second crook to the ground with a punch that broke his nose. He didn't even look back. He was going for Tark. Tark's plans unraveled. He threw Evelyn aside and charged with a sword, launching a desperate and wild assault. Evelyn cried, scrambling to cover her legs. Through her tears, she watched a cold, brutal massacre unfold. The Altaray went full offense. His dagger slashed precisely, blood flying as Tark failed to defend himself. No mercy. The crook who escaped the wolf tried to grab Evelyn to use her as a shield. He failed. The wolf chased and brought him down before he even got close. With one final scream, the crook died as blood gushed from his torn throat. And Tark, he was lost to madness, attacking with the blind hope that it might save him. It wouldn't. As he lunged to stab the Altaray, the immortal warrior turned, let Tark come close, and with one swift motion, beheaded him. That was it. The end. Evelyn held her breath. Tark's head hit the ground with a sickening thud, his face frozen in agony. She nearly fainted. The Altarai and his black wolf regrouped. The final crook, the one who had been punched, ran away, horror etched on his face. No one chased him. The Altarai exhaled deeply and turned his attention to Evelyn. Fear clutched at her heart. She tried to crawl away. Damn limp, she cursed, biting her lip. She couldn't move without her walking cane. The Altarai came closer, knelt, removed his black cape, and handed it to her. She could now clearly see his light blue eyes, dark hair, and 3 black markings on his forehead. He had a short, stubby mustache and beard, and an earring made of animal claws. "Take it, my lady, cover your legs. I don't want to accidentally touch you," he said, still searching for her face with those haunting eyes. And then it hit her. "My lord, you are—" "I am blind, my lady." Evelyn's voice trembled. "You saved me, fought all of them, without seeing them?" She wrapped the cape tightly around her legs, trying not to sound shocked, but she failed. "I see with my hearing, with what I sense and taste in the air. I see everything," he said, nodding. "Though I am sorry you had to witness such a bloody sight, my lady." His eyes finally found hers after hearing her voice. Evelyn's lips parted, but all she could manage was a shaky thank you. The Altarai nodded. Evelyn looked down. His blue eyes, streaked with green, were overwhelming. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. Evelyn nodded, then realized he might not see. "Yes," she added quickly, trying to regain composure. At least he couldn't see her limp. "Please, my lord, could you look at my grand guard? He was shot. He's by the river, about 100 steps from here," she said, praying the directions helped. The Altarai nodded and stood. The black wolf approached, blood dripping from its jaw. Evelyn shrieked. "Dax will not hurt you," the Altarai assured her. "Dax, the black wolf." Evelyn steadied her breath as Dax sat beside her. She watched anxiously as the Altarai walked calmly toward the injured guard. He knelt, checked for a pulse, then pressed a hand to the wound, pulled the arrow in one swift motion, and poured powder from a small pouch over the wound. Evelyn sighed in relief. The guard was alive. The Altarai returned. "I will bring you back to the fort, my lady," he said. He patted Dax and whispered to him. The wolf ran to sit beside the unconscious guard. "Dax will protect him. No one can harm him now." Evelyn nodded. "Thank you. But I can't walk. My cane, it broke." The Altarai thought for a moment. "Then I must carry you. May I?" For a moment, he seemed uneasy. His eyes lowered, then turned toward her. Evelyn considered. She wrapped his black cape tightly around her legs. "Yes," she said. He knelt closer. "Please, guide my hands to your shoulder and waist, my lady. I don't want to make a mistake. I've never done this before," he admitted sheepishly. Evelyn froze. No man had ever carried her before. She took a breath. "Here, my lord," she whispered, gently guiding his hands. One to her right shoulder, the other to her left waist. He nodded and lifted her using those points. Evelyn flailed, unsure what to do. "You need to hold on to my shoulder and neck, my lady, or we'll both fall," he instructed. She obeyed, wrapping her arms around him. She felt his strong back and broad shoulders, her face dangerously close to his. "Is this your first time?" he asked. "First time of what?" she replied, puzzled. "Being carried by a man, a blind man." Her cheeks flushed. "Yes, by any man," she mumbled. The Altarai nodded and began walking effortlessly. He didn't stumble, just walked, pausing occasionally to listen. They were quiet for the rest of the way. At the fort, chaos erupted. Soldiers surrounded them, with rifles raised and bayonets pointed. "Please, no, he saved me," Evelyn shouted. Visions of the bloodbath flooding her mind. Jenkins arrived, pale. "Your comrade is by the river, shot by a Tarag arrow. Thankfully, not a poisoned one. I've treated the wound, but he'll need care, the Altaray said to Jenkins. Jenkins nodded, dumbstruck. A stretcher came out. The Altaray set Evelyn down on it. Thank you, she said softly. He stared, nodded, and said, Get well, my lady. Then he turned and disappeared like the wind, leaving everyone in awe. Evelyn took a deep breath, the Altaray's black cape still wrapped around her legs. Chapter 9, AREND'S Redemption. Arend went back to the mountain. The 3 voyagers had gone by now. He could sense the presence of all 6 remaining Altaray, standing solemnly by the stone monument, their auras clouded with concern. They knew what he had done, and he knew he was in trouble. Ord let out a heavy sigh as he approached and bowed to his leader. You've dragged the Altaray into war now, Arend, hissed Ord. His voice was calm, but cold. He was angry. The Turag spies were humiliating the lady. They deserve death, Arend replied, meeting Ord's gaze without flinching. His ice-blue eyes were unwavering. Ord closed his eyes, inhaling deeply. The other Altaray looked at Arend with a strange pity, anticipating what might happen next. But Arend stood firm, his stare locked on Ord, his conviction unshaken. Mortals fight their wars, Arend. War and peace, and war again. It has always been this way, for thousands of years. We should never be a part of it, Ord said slowly, wariness creeping into his tone. We are immortals. We have watched the world rot with war, disease, and death. But now this tribe, one that worships Hatar as we do, is in grave danger. Their women and children are helpless against evil forces. We cannot, for once, just sit back and do nothing, Arend said, voice steady and resolute. The war of humans is not ours to interfere in, Arend. They have their fate, written in their own book of life, Ord replied, lifting his face toward the sky, eyes closed. In that moment, he looked ancient. Being immortal, does that mean we've lost our hearts too? Do we lose our sense of what's right and wrong just because we're beyond mortal laws? Arend challenged, slowly stepping behind Eorth, seeking his eyes. Silence fell. Each Altaray was deep in thought. At last, Eorth spoke. I have instructed the voyagers to return to their fort. I will now retreat and have an audience with Hatar to seek his guidance on what we should do. His gaze pierced Arend. War, Arend. Are you ready for what is to come? He whispered, then turned and disappeared into the clouds and mist. Arend remained quiet, but he was ready, and so was Hatar. The next day, Arend was summoned again by Eorth, in front of the mountain guards. Our god Hatar has commanded you, Arend, to go and assist the tribe in their battle against the Turag. This is your redemption, your atonement. You've dragged the immortals into the wars of mortals. You must now redeem yourself by standing beside them against evil. Are you ready? Eorth's voice was both commanding and noble. Arend stood solid. Yes, Eorth, I am ready. I will fight this war to help them. Eorth studied him, then offered a faint smile. Then leave by sunrise. Eor Hatar Nav Esvigeth Aris Ra Arend De Altaray. May the strength of the light of Hatar be with you, Arend, 7th Altaray. Arend inhaled deeply, his blue eyes brightening with resolve. The other Altaray nodded silently in support. He went to the eastern edge of the mountain, Dax at his side, his spot, the place he always visited to calm his mind. The eastern cliff was sheer and smooth, plunging thousands of meters into darkness. Arend, a voice called. Arend, sitting atop a massive rock, turned. Agdar, he said, recognizing the Altaray behind him. Agdar, just slightly older than him, had been his close friend for centuries. Agdar had a rare gift. He could read the depths of both mortal and immortal hearts and minds. Slight in build, shorter than the rest, especially next to Arend's tall and muscular form, Agdar was the gentlest of them all. He could speak to animals as easily as to the Altaray. His life, Orith once said, was a poem. Be careful, Agdar said softly, sitting beside him. Arend smiled and nodded. I will, Agdar. Thank you. They sat in silence. Then a sudden question. Who are you fighting this war for, Arend? Agdar asked. Arend was surprised. He turned toward him, trying to fix his blind gaze on his friend. Agdar stared back, head tilted, waiting. For the humans, Agdar. To help them, of course, came the answer. Agdar sighed, eyes lifting to the sky. Yes, but deep in your heart, you know you'll fight for the one you've been thinking about constantly, the one you love. Arend froze. His breathing quickened. Agdar, please, don't try to read my mind or search my heart, he whispered. Agdar chuckled gently. Arend said nothing. He turned away, gazing toward the swaying trees. His unblinking, blind eyes were clear and blue. Silence settled over them again. Agdar. Yes. Arend hesitated. Is it wrong for an immortal to love? He finally asked, voice trembling. He wasn't sure he should say it, but Agdar he trusted. Agdar sighed in contemplation. Ah, Arend, stalwart guard, powerful warrior. Who am I to tell you what to do with the matters of the heart? To love or not to love, that is not my answer to give. Don't you ever wonder, Agdar? Arend's voice drifted, searching for the words. Wonder about what? About what it's like to love and be loved? We're immortals. Time doesn't matter to us. We are untouched by the chaos of mortal emotions. But what if we've missed something? Something beautiful that only mortals ever feel. What does the heart offer? We're free, Arend. Free from grief's hunger and heartbreak's agony. I can live without those. But Agdar, what about joy, warmth, happiness? Sometimes I run past the nearby villages at night. I cannot see, but I hear everything. The sound of families, husbands and wives cuddling or arguing, babies crying, children laughing. Family, Agdar. Agdar chuckled, his eyes wide with surprise and wonder. Arend, mighty Arend, you want a family? A wife and children? You want to find the love of your life, your one and only, in this universe of chaos. Someone who understands your soul and lets herself be understood by you? Arend quickly turned his face away to hide the flush rising in his cheeks. I don't know. Agdar. All I'm saying is, maybe we immortals have missed out on something beautiful. Our lives are flat, Agdar. Agdar grew quiet, his gaze fixed in the distance, brows furrowed. You know what kind of sacrifice it would take to be with a mortal, Arend? Aside from feeling all their messy emotions, it would be the greatest sacrifice of your entire existence. Arend nodded slowly, his blue eyes clouded, mind heavy. Agdar patted his shoulder and left. Arend stayed there, thinking. For a long time. Chapter 10. An Alliance. Evelyn fell sick after her harrowing encounter with the Tarak spies. She drifted in and out of consciousness, a high fever ravaging her body and leaving her mind with only hazy fragments of what happened around her. She could hear voices, but their words made no sense. Her head pounded, like someone was slamming a hammer repeatedly into her temples. She coughed constantly, and at one point, blood spurted out, fresh red stains soaking her pillows. That was enough to send Jane into a frantic sprint to find the fort doctor, Dr. Raleigh. Her father returned safely from the mountain and visited her chamber, but he didn't say much, just a hasty, "Get better soon." She was awake that morning. "Father, I'm glad you're back," she said weakly, her voice thin, breath short, but she wanted to speak. "You look thin and pale, Evie. Make sure you do as the doctor told you," he replied. A quick observation, followed by a concluding command. He looked tired but proud, as always. The mountain guard. Evelyn tried to speak, to tell him what happened. Pain flared in her head, making her grimace. She coughed. I know, he interrupted curtly. I heard everything from Jenkins. I was there when the mountain guards decided one of them should go help you. Evelyn nodded weakly as coughing overtook her again. Then, heavy footsteps echoed outside her room. Someone rushed in. Jenkins. He was sweating, face red and oily, his breath ragged. General, one of the mountain guards. He's here. He said he comes to help. Jenkins' voice was a frantic mix between a shriek and a shout. The general turned quickly and sighed, visibly relieved. They've decided to help us, he whispered, glancing at the ill Evelyn. Evelyn took a deep breath, slightly relieved. Is it the same one who saved me? She wondered. The general quickly left her chamber as she began coughing again. Outside, the mountain guard stood calmly by the mansion gate, waiting for Jenkins to get clearance for him to enter. His black wolf sat beside him, alert, imposing, and ready. The general, along with Chief Awahali and Nidvari, still present, greeted him on the veranda. There he stood, a tall and proud mountain guard. His white bow slung across his athletic frame, a white dagger sheathed at his belt, blue eyes staring straight at the general. His dark hair was tied in a man bun, with a few wavy strands falling over his face. His dark cape and clothes starkly contrasted with the surroundings, casting an otherworldly aura over the veranda. Thank you, Altaray, for coming to help us, the general said, uncertain of what else to say. The blind Altaray turned his head toward the voice, then gave a slight nod. I have come to honor the command of Hatter, he answered. The black wolf moved to a corner of the porch, yawned and settled down. The three humans couldn't help but be captivated by the regal beast. I believe your name is Arend. Is that correct? The chief asked, carefully watching the wolf from the corner of his eye. Arend turned and nodded. I am indeed Arend, the seventh Altaray. Lord Arend, the seventh Altaray, please accept our gratitude. Nadvari bowed, subtly hinting to the others how to address him. Arend blinked, shaking his head. Arend is fine. There's no need to call me Lord. The three of them exhaled in quiet relief. Silence followed. The general cleared his throat. Thank you for saving my daughter, Arend. The experience was too much for her. She's ill now, but safe, and I thank you for bringing her back to us. Ill. Arend tilted his head, searching for the general's voice. The lady will be all right, Arend. The fort doctor is taking care of her, Chief Awahali assured him. Arend nodded. The Tarag, have they made any movement? He asked. Our spies have reported increased activity in their camp, Arend. They're clearly preparing for war. A few thousand soldiers, some mounted, others on foot. Daller, their chief, has ordered the development of massive crossbows capable of launching flaming arrows that could destroy our fort and mansion within hours. They also plan to attack the Mohegan encampment. With those crossbows, there will be heavy casualties. Our spies also reported that. The general paused, trying to calm his nerves under Arend's intense gaze. Those blue eyes. They could rip my soul out, he cursed inwardly. The spies reported that the Tarag warriors are terrifying. Chief Awahali continued. Terrifying, Arend tilted, his head asking for clarity. Their eyes have turned red. Strange red tattoos cover their faces and bodies. They've grown abnormally large. One warrior reportedly uprooted a tree with ease. And they can't be harmed by our weapons. We learned that the hard way, Nadvari added, worry flickering in her eyes. Arend nodded. Yarith, their evil god, has always been the arch-enemy of Hattar. Is that why you were sent to help us? Nadvari asked. Arend sighed. Partly. I dragged the Immortals into the Mortals' war by killing the Tarag spies who've humiliated the general's daughter. This is my atonement, he said calmly. Thank the heavens he killed those worms, the general thought, silently rejoicing. The first thing we must do is move the women, children, and elderly to safer ground, Arend said, his gaze fixed on the three humans. Evacuation is already underway at the Mohegan camp. Women, children under 16, and the elderly began their trek up the Karaipa Hills last night, the chief explained. How many warriors accompanied them? And Karaipa, the hills have many rocky caves. The refugees should be safe there for a while, Arend replied. 50 warriors. Yes, Karaipa has been our stronghold for thousands of years, the chief answered. And here, do you have a safer place? Arend asked the general. The general coughed. Yes, we have a bunker here. Its entrance is in my office. Arend nodded. The answer seemed satisfactory. My bow and arrows should be able to kill thee. Terag warriors, he said. But only you can do any real damage to them? Nadvari's voice was strained. The evil god Urith and the chief Dollar are now one and the same. I must kill Dollar to sever Urith's influence over the Terag warriors. Then they can be killed by your weapons like any other humans. But before you kill Dollar, those monsters will massacre us like rabbits in a foxhole. It'll be a bloodbath, the general shouted. Arend shot him a glare. His blind eyes burned with silent fury. The general fell quiet. Collect as many arrows as possible from the Mohegans, from your soldiers, and from those guarding the Mohegan encampment. I can speak a spell to empower them in battle. They still won't be able to kill the Terag forces until I slay Dollar, but they can inflict wounds, buying us precious time, Arend explained. The three nodded. They had little choice. The general shouted an order to Jenkins to collect as many arrows as possible by morning. The strategy meeting continued late into the night. The fort's defenses were reinforced. New passageways were dug to provide escape routes. Trenches were built for wounded soldiers, for cover, and to provide protected vantage points for archers. They quickly learned Arend was blind, and were completely awed by his uncanny hearing and smell, which allowed him to function effortlessly. Shouts echoed across the fort as soldiers marched into position. More shouting. War was coming. A war that would take an alliance between human beings and an immortal. Chapter 11. Seduction. Evelyn felt a bit better that evening. Her fever had subsided. The throbbing pain in her head was still there, but at least it had lessened. She sat up in bed and tried to nibble a piece of bread. The mansion was humming with activity, and the Altarai, one of them, had come to help. That must be a good sign, she thought. Evening, Evelyn, came a voice she truly didn't want to hear. Felicity, Evelyn replied politely, getting a small nod as the woman strolled in through the open chamber door. Now, I don't want to be heartless. What would people say? Felicity said, dripping with faux sweetness. So here I am, visiting you. Tell me, Evie darling, how are you? Her tone was both annoyingly sweet and unapologetically rude. Of course, she wore the boldest dress embroidered with red and purple flowers, the low-cut neckline advertising her ample bosom. She shamelessly gave a little shake of her chest and took a seat on the chair near the coffee table. Her eyes locked onto Evelyn's. Twirling her blonde curls around one finger, she bit her lips. Not in thought, but from sheer boredom. Our help is here, you know, she whispered with a secretive grin. The mountain guard, an immortal being. Yes, I heard that, Felicity, Evelyn answered dryly. Oh, Felicity moaned, a slow, sultry sound. I took a peek at him. Oh, she moaned even louder this time. Evelyn felt her blood pressure rising. If she moans one more time, her hand twitched. She was dangerously close to slapping the worm in front of her. He is... Let me tell you what he looks like. Oh. Felicity, stop the moaning, Evelyn snapped. Felicity threw her head back and laughed. Her golden curls bounced along with her chest, perfectly in sync. He's quite a handsome fellow, Evelyn. Tall, dark hair, and those blue eyes. Oh, those blue eyes could kill me. And that body, muscles like marble. But too bad, he's blind. Stop it, Felicity, Evelyn said firmly, feeling her cheeks grow warm. A blind mountain guard? The same one who had saved her? What I would give to have him just one night in my chamber. Just me and him. I don't care if he's blind. There are still plenty of things he can do, Felicity whispered shamelessly. Evelyn shook her head in disbelief. Felicity, stop that. He's our guest, and he came to help us. How could you speak about him like that? You're supposed to be a lady. Surely there are better things to talk about. Though she's certainly not a lady, Evelyn thought bitterly. Felicity tilted her head, unfazed. You're crippled, Evelyn. Maybe you just don't understand. But I have needs. You should look at him. He awakens something in me I've never felt before. He may have a wife, someone he loves, Evelyn countered. And you have, well, my father. Felicity scoffed. You don't know what pleasure is, dear sweet Evelyn. You're weak. You should find your own happiness, your own pleasure. Who cares if the Immortal Guard has a wife? She's not here, is she? She doesn't need to know. She closed her eyes and drew a long, indulgent breath. And my father? Evelyn's voice was trembling now. Oh, be quiet, Evelyn. You're so naive. Felicity's tone darkened. Let me tell you something. Your father, he's been busy. With other women. Not just me. He's had several visitors in this mansion. Pretty young things, the wives of his officers. Evelyn's breath hitched. Her head pounded like a drum. She had known her father wasn't a saint, but the wives of his officers, that made him no better than Felicity. He was wrecking homes too. She felt nauseous. Sweat broke across her forehead. Covering her mouth with one hand, she clutched her blanket tighter with the other. Felicity laughed cruelly. Think about it, sweet, sweet, naive lady. And with one last stab, she turned and left. Evelyn bit her lip as violent coughing overtook her. Blood stained her palm and her pillows. The night crawled by. It was well past midnight when Arend finally excused himself and was led to a room prepared for him. A young soldier guided him there, and Arend nodded his thanks before stepping inside. He took time to walk the room, fingers brushing over walls, furniture, the bed, mentally mapping everything. Only after he was satisfied with the layout did he remove his tunic, wash his face, and step out onto the balcony. He knew Dax was already there. Arend patted the black wolf gently. His expression was calm, but his mind, it churned with unease. You know what immortality is, Dax? He whispered as he knelt beside the wolf. Dax grunted and licked his fingers in reply. His icy gray-blue eyes blinked twice, ears perked with attention. It's lonely, Arend murmured. All your friends, your family, they're long gone, and you just keep going, day after day, forever. His voice trailed off. A heavy sigh escaped his chest. He finally went back inside and lay on the bed, hands folded behind his head. He closed his eyes, but opened them again moments later. Is immortality really a gift? He knew his body, his neck, shoulders, arms, and chest, was etched with the sacred characters of Hatar, and on his forehead, the 3 black tattoos that marked him as the 7th Altari, the 7th immortal warrior. Arend sighed. A knock on the door made him sit up, startled. Who could it be at this hour? He wondered. He slipped his tunic back on and went to open the door. Even before it swung open, he caught the overpowering scent, sweet and cloying, sandalwood, jasmine, lilies. Well, hello, Immortal Guard. Arend, isn't it? Chirped a high-pitched, sugary voice. He froze. The boldness of this woman left him speechless. Yes, I am Arend, he answered cautiously, dipping his head. He tried to guess who it was. I'm Felicity, she said with a flirtatious smile. Is there anything you need, my lady? Arend asked, his discomfort growing by the second. Her perfume was nearly suffocating. Felicity giggled. Yes, as a matter of fact, there is. He blinked, perplexed. May I come in? It's cold out here, she said, arms folded under her breasts, pushing them up deliberately. Her training from the brothels of London had clearly not gone to waste. Arend hesitated, then clumsily stepped aside and opened the door wider. I brought something, she said brightly. My lady, I cannot see. Just call me Felicity. It's a bottle of wine. My lady, Felicity, it's late. I don't wish to drink. Then what do you need? Arend asked, instinctively backing away to put the table between them. Felicity placed the wine bottle down and stepped closer, directly in front of him. "It's a cold night, my dear Lord Arend. I thought you might need company," she whispered as her fingers trailed along his chest. Dax, curled on the balcony, made no move. Perhaps he thought his master wouldn't need protection tonight. Arend stepped back. "No, Felicity, I'm all right. I don't need company." His voice was stern, his gaze unyielding. Now he understood exactly what she wanted. She smiled, then began unbuttoning her dress. "May I have your hand, my lord?" she asked sweetly. Arend's blind eyes widened. His head turned slightly, as if trying to make sense of what he couldn't see. "Please," she whispered again. Reluctantly, Arend extended his hand. Felicity took it and placed it directly on her chest. "Felicity, stop it!" Arend yanked his hand back, stepping away. His breathing had grown fast, uneven. But Felicity didn't stop. She stepped forward again and wrapped her arms around him. For a fleeting second, Arend let her. Then she kissed his cheek. "No!" Arend shoved her away. He stumbled, bumped into a chair, but quickly regained balance. His face flushed, breath quickened. He turned and half staggered to the balcony door, trying to calm the storm inside him. Felicity frowned, not pleased. "Go, Felicity," Arend growled. "I don't need company." She buttoned her dress back up with a huff, grabbed the wine bottle, and sauntered to the door. Just before she left, she turned back and asked with a sly glint in her eye, "Is there already someone in your heart, then?" Arend didn't flinch. His voice was cold, steady, and burning with restrained fury. "Yes." Chapter 12, Arend's Memory. That night, Arend did not sleep. As an immortal, he could go many days without rest. But this time, even though he was exhausted, he simply couldn't. His mind was racing. His heart was pounding. He felt restless. What was that warmth he felt when he was seduced? Could someone like him, an immortal, still feel such a thing? Arend couldn't find the answer. His memory of life as a mortal human, lived so long ago, was broken into scattered pieces. Try as he might, he couldn't remember much of it. "Have I ever been with a woman?" "No, I haven't," the fragments of his shattered memory whispered, though he wasn't entirely sure. And if he had, the whole experience must have been utterly forgettable, because not a single image came to mind. "Have I ever been in love? I don't even know what it feels like to be in love," he scolded himself. Or was it so meaningless that it didn't leave the faintest trace behind, if it ever happened at all? He sat alone on the balcony railing for the rest of the night, listening to the insects serenade the dark with their nightly songs, trying in vain to recall pieces of his distant past. He sighed, frustrated. There was so little left to remember. But there was one thing he did remember, who he was and what he had done. The next morning, Evelyn felt sick. Her body ached and her cough still lingered. But oddly, she also felt stronger. Just knowing that an Al-Tarai had come to help lifted her spirits. Her conversation with Felicity the night before had given her a lot to think about. Her father, who was he, really? Evelyn regretted ever agreeing to come here, to America. Back home, all she had were scattered fragments of memory about her father. Now, she had learned so much more, and honestly, she wasn't sure she wanted to. Her mother must have known. Maybe that's why she never tried too hard to help Evelyn get to know him. She'd been protecting her from the truth, from the pain. Her mother wanted her to remember him as a good, untainted man. But he wasn't. Evelyn sighed, her heart heavy. A wave of grief threatened to crash over her. She felt like crying but knew it wouldn't help. A chambermaid entered. Jane was ill, and in her place, another maid named Maggie had been assigned to help her that morning. Maggie was heavily pregnant. "Maggie, are you sure you can help me? You seem very pregnant," Evelyn managed with a weak smile, her voice hoarse from the coughing. Maggie gave a tired, gentle smile. "Oh yes, my lady, this baby's strong. It'll be all right," she said softly. Her exhaustion showed in every movement. As she lovingly caressed her round belly, Evelyn felt a sudden warmth in her chest. A baby inside its mother. There's no safer place on earth, she thought. "How many more months to go before the baby's due?" Evelyn asked, watching as Maggie tried to tie her hair into a bun. Maggie paused and looked up. Should be soon now. I can't be sure. Your husband? Oh, his name's Jamie. He's the gardener's helper. The fat lad with a head of curly red hair. You can't miss that head. That's my man. Evelyn chuckled softly. Maggie was sweet, just like Jane. Your first child? This baby? No, my second. My firstborn died when he was only 2. 2 years ago. Maggie's voice faded. Her eyes shut tightly. A quiet grief lingered in the air as Evelyn scrambled for words. I'm so sorry, Maggie, she finally said. Maggie shook her head hard, like she was trying to push away the memories. For days, he couldn't breathe right. He coughed and cried, and soon enough, both Jamie and I cried with him. He had a high fever that wouldn't come down. And then, one evening, he just looked at me, closed his eyes like he was finally at peace, and he turned cold in my arms. Her voice broke into a whisper. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. A child dying in his mother's arms. She couldn't even begin to imagine that pain. Just then, another chambermaid burst in with a stack of fresh bed linens. Do y'all know what the Immortal guard did this morning? I saw it with my own eyes, she shouted. Her accent marked her as a country girl, born and raised here in America. Jenny, please be more polite, Maggie scolded her gently. Evelyn exhaled, a bit relieved to be pulled out of the silence. She smiled at the girl who looked no more than 15 or 16. It's perfectly fine, Maggie. But Jenny was too excited to notice. There were stacks of arrows, loads of them, on the fort's field. And he, well, you won't believe this, he ran, like really fast. He touched each stack of arrows. Her eyes gleamed with awe. They say he's blind, but the way he moved, the way he handled everything, no one would have ever guessed it. And? Maggie leaned in, now curious. The arrows, they started shining, a soft white glow. I couldn't believe it, but I swear it happened. Arrows, glowing. Jenny's cheeks were flushed, her hands flailing with excitement, sweat beading on her forehead. Maggie turned to Evelyn and nodded firmly. Shining arrows. We'll be fine, my lady. We will be fine. Maggie stayed with her all day. They chatted, worked on needlecrafts, and for the first time in days, Evelyn felt a little lighter. She even walked out to the balcony to watch the bustling mansion garden below. Voices and shouts echoed constantly from the fort area. Later that afternoon, Jenkins arrived to show her the entrance to the mansion's bunker. Behind a bookshelf in her father's office stood a wooden door, which led to a sloping staircase, and at the bottom, another door, the bunker's gate. We'll send signals if the fort is going to, Jenkins hesitated, well, fall. All the civil staff and family members can then go to the bunker. His voice trembled. The fear in his eyes was plain. Evelyn nodded. Understood, Jenkins, she replied gently. Her own heart was filled with dread, but she masked it. Jenkins looked like he needed comfort more than she did. You're doing a fine job, she added kindly. Jenkins brightened just a little. Thank you, my lady. I appreciate it. I just hope we all survive this nightmare. Do you have family here, Jenkins? She asked. He shook his head. My wife and 3 children are across the ocean in Manchester. They must miss you a lot. He smiled faintly, so faintly it was almost invisible. Yes, especially the youngest, a little girl, 7 years old. I should have just been a potato farmer, like my father and his father. But no, I wanted to be a soldier. I was young, stupid, cocky. I wanted Rosaline to be impressed. Rosaline? My wife, Jenkins nodded. As they returned to her chamber, he added, Now I know how much Rosaline loves me. I think I didn't need to be a soldier to impress her. I could be a toad prince with 3 bulging eyes and she'd still marry me. He pressed a thoughtful hand to his chin. Love apparently goes way beyond what's seen on the outside. Evelyn smiled. Well, I'm sure you're a good father and a good husband, Jenkins. He chuckled dryly. Well, a good husband and father aren't much use if he's dead now, are they? Evelyn sighed and nodded, her expression softening. Be strong, Jenkins, she said, her voice steady. Jenkins looked at her for a long second. Thank you, my lady. You too, he replied, trying to sound cheerful, even though his voice betrayed him. Chapter 13. A Baby and an Immortal. In the evening, Evelyn sat by the coffee table, trying to sew a baby blanket for Maggie's unborn child. Her mind raced. The shouts from outside grew louder and more intense. The thundering sounds of heavy soldier boots echoed through the mansion. Clear signs of the pressure everyone was under. And then it came. From the open chamber door. A big black wolf. Evelyn stood up in shock. Her sewing kit crashed to the floor with a loud clatter. The black wolf. Dax. You, she stammered, trembling with sudden fear. Her heart pounded violently as she grabbed the side of the table to keep from collapsing. Her walking cane had fallen when she stood. The image of the black wolf devouring the Tarab spy flashed through her mind. But Dax did nothing. The majestic beast calmly padded over and sat beside her. It looked at her with icy blue eyes, but they were violent. And then she remembered her dream, the dream of the black wolf that protected her. It made sense now. Dax, a voice called from the hallway. Evelyn turned and saw him, the Altarai who had rescued her. He stood still by the chamber door, seemingly unsure whether to enter. His tall frame and dark clothes looked almost imposing. "My lord, your wolf is sitting next to me," Evelyn whispered, afraid any sudden sound might trigger the beast. "My lady, this is your chamber?" His voice shook, betraying his surprise. "Yes, it is," she answered, legs trembling. How would she reach her cane now? It lay on the floor, far from her grasp. May I come in, my lady? My wolf." He hesitated, uncertain. "Yes, please do. Your wolf will surely listen to you better than to me," she said, tightening her grip on the table to steady her shaking legs. Yaltarai stepped inside slowly, using his hands to feel his way. The chamber was unfamiliar to him. "Dax, come with me now," he called gently. The wolf perked its ears, wagged its tail, stretched, and then calmly settled back down. It wasn't going anywhere. "I'm sorry, Dax. He just ran off," the Altarai explained. "It's all right. He's very gentle to me." Silence fell between them. He stood before her now, his blue eyes blinking slowly. "I heard you were ill. Are you better now, my lady?" Evelyn nodded. "Yes, and—" she hesitated. He tilted his head curiously. "And thank you for rescuing me that day. I haven't properly said it. I'm glad you came to help us now, too." Yaltarai nodded slowly, his blue eyes searching hers. He stepped forward, kneeled, then gently felt along the floor until he found her walking cane. "Here, my lady," he said, handing it to her. "Thank you. How did you know it was there?" "I knew you were standing because your grape on the table made it creak. From Dax's scent, I knew he was to your right. And when I carried you before, I noticed it's your left leg that's weak. You hold your cane in your left hand, and when Dax startled you, it likely fell forward or to your left. It was to your left." Evelyn gasped softly, covering her mouth. "Amazing." Arend nodded. "I've had many years to train my ears and nose to do what my eyes no longer can, my lady." They shared a moment of stillness. "What is your name, my lady?" he suddenly asked, almost blurting it out, as if he'd rehearsed it many times. Evelyn smiled gently. "You can call me Evelyn. And you, my lord?" "I'm Arend, just Arend." "No need to call me my lord," he replied, with a trace of unease. His blue eyes softened. "Your belt, Arend, was it damaged during the fight with the spies?" she asked, noticing the tear in his white cloth belt. Arend felt it with his hand and nodded. Would you like me to mend it? It's the least I could do after what you've done for me." He stared at her, then stepped closer. He's very tall, Evelyn thought. "Yes, Evelyn, if you don't mind." She nodded and slowly lowered herself to retrieve her fallen sewing kit. Her left leg trembled, struggling to support her. "What happened?" Arend asked. "My sewing kit. I dropped it when Dax entered. Tell me where it all landed." To my left and some in front of me. 4 needles, 3 thread balls. The box fell directly ahead. He kneeled and began gathering the items. 1, 2, 3, 4 needles. And here, 1, 2, 3 thread balls. He returned everything to the box and handed it to her. She gasped in awe once again. He then loosened his belt and gave it to her. If anyone knew a man was in her room without his belt on, it would be scandalous. But Evelyn didn't care. He had saved her life. This was the least she could do. To hell with the protocols, she fought as she carefully mended the cloth. Arend stood quietly, gazing up at the ceiling, then down at the floor. Serene, just like Dax. When she finished, he thanked her sincerely. I think I'll take my leave now, Evelyn. It's late, and you should rest, he murmured, fastening the belt. Evelyn nodded. Oh wait, one more thing. She quickly moved to her drawer and retrieved the black cape he had wrapped around her that day. Here, it's yours, she said, offering it to him. He reached for it, and after a moment, she gently placed it in his hands. He nodded, thanked her, and put it on. Just then, Maggie came in, looking pale and drenched in sweat. She froze at the sight of Arend. He nodded politely, sensing her presence. Maggie, are you all right? You look really pale. Evelyn rushed to her. My baby, my lady, I think I'm in labor, Maggie gasped, grimacing in pain. She grabbed Evelyn's hands, and Evelyn saw blood soaking through her white skirt. Evelyn panicked. She held Maggie's hands with one hand and her walking cane with the other. Maggie, please, hold on. She turned to Arend. Arend, you have to help. Evelyn, I would do anything to help, but I have no idea how to assist in childbirth, he confessed, stepping closer, eyes wide with helplessness. No, Arend, I mean run. You're fast, aren't you? Go! Find Dr. Raleigh, the fort doctor. He sighed in relief. Yes, Evelyn, I can do that. Where is he? In the doctor's home, about 200 steps north of this building. He nodded and vanished in a whoosh of wind. Evelyn helped Maggie to the bed. Maggie could still walk, but her face was drenched in sweat. Her belly looked much larger now. Maggie, the doctor will be here soon. Arend is fetching him, Evelyn whispered, caressing her forehead. Maggie tried to breathe. An immortal guard, helping with my child's birth. What luck, she whispered between contractions. Soon, Dr. Raleigh arrived, a short, stocky man with a head of white hair and kind gray eyes. Whoa! I'm 65 and never ran that fast in my life. They said this fellow is blind, but wow, we didn't even hit anything. I'm dizzy now, he panted, massaging his head. He spotted Maggie and immediately regained composure. Now, everyone out. Only the mother, the baby, the father, and me. And yes, the big dog too, he barked, waving them out. Dax actually listened this time and trotted calmly out. The father? Arend asked Evelyn. Jamie, the fat fellow with red hair, the gardener's helper. Maggie, where do you stay? Maggie groaned. In the maids' complex, east of here. Distance? I don't know. 3? No, 4 times the gate length. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, gods, she screamed. Arend nodded and vanished again. Jamie arrived moments later, disoriented and in pajamas, red hair a mess. He just grabbed me while I was sleeping. And so fast. I'm sorry, but your wife needs you, Arend explained calmly. Jamie snapped to it and rushed to Maggie's side. Evelyn waited outside her chamber, hands gripping her cane until her knuckles turned white. Maggie's screams shook her heart. Arend stood beside her, silent. A few maids entered to assist, carrying water and blankets, faces pale yet eager. Arend, you don't have to wait here. You should rest, Evelyn said gently. I hope you don't mind if I wait a bit longer, he murmured. She nodded. From inside, they heard the doctor encouraging Maggie to push. Her screams grew louder. I thought I'd heard all kinds of torture, Arend murmured, looking pensive. Evelyn smiled faintly. A baby, Arend. The baby will be born soon. He nodded, inhaling deeply. Something shifted inside him. And then they heard it. A baby's cry. Evelyn sighed in relief and turned to Arend with a bright smile. A baby, Arend. He nodded again, more subdued. Jamie stepped out, beaming, holding the swaddled baby. Our baby, my lady, my lord, thank you. He turned to Arend. My lord, may I ask a favor? Arend tilted his head. Yes, Jamie. My lord, Maggie and I, we have nothing fancy to give this little girl. But if you'd carry her, just once, we could tell her someday that an immortal held her on the day she was born. It would be her blessing. Our firstborn died 2 years ago. Please. Arend was visibly stunned. My lord, if you don't, yes, I will carry her, he said softly. Clumsily, Arend took the baby. She looked so small in his arms. He paced a few steps, caressing her tiny forehead, before returning her to Jamie. I have said a prayer for her, he whispered, his blue eyes glowing warmly. Jamie nodded gratefully and went back inside. Arend stood frozen, watching them disappear into the chamber. Are you all right, Arend? Evelyn asked softly. He took a deep breath and nodded. I've never, ever held a baby so small, he murmured. Wonder, surprise, and something deeper flickered in his gaze. Something that wouldn't leave him so easily. He said goodnight, then turned and walked away quickly, face stiff with thought and eyes staring straight ahead. Chapter 14. Take Me Running. The next day, the tension thickened, palpable and suffocating. The Turog sent 2 envoys to deliver a letter of offer. They proposed to take over the fort and, in return, promised to spare all lives. Or, well, war. Of course, their proposal was met with sheer contempt. The general tore the letter into shreds right in front of their faces. The envoys stiffened in fury, but left without further negotiation, only to announce a grim warning. The full force of Turog's warriors would arrive the day after tomorrow, targeting both the fort and the Mohegans' camp. Evacuation was no longer an option. The area had already been quietly surrounded by Turog spies and warriors. Their assault planned long before the spies were killed. Arend's action of murdering them had merely hastened the inevitable. The air around the fort reeked of looming tragedy. Courage was desperately needed, but it was now the hardest thing to find. Soldiers trembled as they performed their duties. Spirits were low. Prayers were fervent. Emotions, raw and unfiltered, surged through every corner of the compound. Evelyn sewed furiously, relentlessly. She needed to finish the romper for Mabby's baby. She had to complete the apron for Jane, the cross-stitched handkerchief for the cook, a small pill pouch for Dr. Raleigh. She wanted to do it all. She bit her lip hard as the realization hit. She might not have time to finish any of it. And Arend. Her thoughts circled endlessly around him. The look on his face when he said goodnight the evening before. Something had stirred in him, something deep, something he couldn't hide in his eyes. So many words, left unsaid. What happened, Arend? Are you all right? Can someone like you, an immortal, feel this kind of emotional pain? Like a human? What does it feel like to live forever? Evelyn sighed. Dinner that evening? A disaster, to say the least. The general wasn't even pretending to eat. He threw his plate to the floor. Then the soup followed. He was angry, and Evelyn knew it wasn't just anger, it was fear. Father, do you want me to bring you food from? Evelyn asked hesitantly. Shut up, fool, the general roared. Evelyn flinched and clammed up. Silence, always her safest bet. Felicity? She didn't care. She ate without a word, eyes vacant. When she finished, she stood abruptly, then deliberately spilled her glass of wine on Evelyn's skirt. Evelyn gasped, jumping back as the cold red liquid soaked through the fabric. Felicity didn't apologize. She merely glanced sideways, her icy blue eyes gleaming with smug mischief. Evelyn realized in that instant Felicity had done it on purpose. "Evelyn, don't buy a hand! Look, my wine spilled all over your skirt," Felicity said, feigning concern. Evelyn stood there, stunned. How could someone be this cruel, so deliberately vain? "Felicity, I didn't even touch your hand. You spilled the wine." Her voice trembled with suppressed anger. Her father didn't even blink before exploding. "Evelyn, don't be mean to Felicity. Why would you bump her hand like that? You're such a childish, foolish girl." "I didn't bump her," Evelyn protested. "It didn't matter." "Be quiet, Evelyn. You have no right to hurt Felicity that way. She's important to me. Can't you understand that? You and that dead mother of yours never did. Go, now. I don't wish to see you here." "That dead mother of yours. I don't wish to see you here." Evelyn nodded slowly, trying to absorb the venom in his words. Too bitter to swallow, too real to deny. Each syllable struck like a dagger. She stood, legs trembling, and limped away, humiliated, devastated, out of the dining room, out of the mansion. Her tears, held back until now, poured freely. She gripped the porch railing and collapsed, sobbing. Her chest rose and fell in painful waves. She felt alone. Truly, heartbreakingly alone. She cried for a while, grateful no one passed by. She didn't have the energy to explain. Her heart sank even deeper as the sounds of shouting echoed from beyond the mansion gates, from the fort. Will death be painful? She wondered, brushing the tears from her cheeks. Then she saw them, young children, a few babies, the children of the staff, Maggie's newborn, Sophie. Will they be spared? Oh God, please, let them be spared. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Slowly, she calmed. Gripping the railing, she forced herself to stand. She grabbed her walking cane and began down the veranda steps, along the gravel path that led to the mansion gate. The air was thick with the scent of gunpowder, spoiled food, and decaying hope. She pressed on as quickly as her cane allowed. She needed to get out, to breathe. The closer she got to the fort, the heavier the stench. Guards passed her. They nodded, warned her to stay inside the gates. She nodded back. Finally, she reached the mansion's metal gates and looked out, a world trembling with panic, fear, and fake courage. She noticed the stacks of arrows, faintly glowing. A soft white light, like a halo, surrounded them. "Evelyn," a voice called from behind. She turned, startled. "Arend, I promise I'll stay behind the gate. Don't worry," she said with a soft smile, assuming he was about to scold her. He stepped closer. Those blue eyes, were they glowing? She couldn't look away. "It's for your safety," he said gently. Against the dark night, he looked even taller, formidable, commanding. "You smell like wine, Evelyn. Are you drunk?" he asked, tilting his head. She sighed. "Accident. Lady Felicity spilled it on me," she muttered, glancing at the deep stain. Arend studied her closely. "Are you all right?" She felt a lump rise in her throat. "Arend, I just feel scared. About the war. But I'm all right." "I'm all right," she repeated more firmly. "Do you want to run?" The question nearly knocked her breath out. Her eyes widened. Her jaw dropped. She laughed softly. "Arend, have you forgotten? I cannot run." "I know," he said, hesitating. "I run, and I carry you." She gasped, shook her head disbelieving. "Run? Oh, how I wish I knew how that felt." "I'm sorry, that was too bold of me. I could escort you back, if you'd like," Arend stammered. "I just don't want you to get in trouble," she whispered. He smiled. "That's not something you need to worry about. If people see us, no one will. They'll feel only the wind, I promise." His glowing eyes shone with a quiet confidence. Evelyn swallowed hard, twisting her fingers. "Where are we going?" she asked. Not far. Around here. You know the way? Yes, Evelyn. Very well. She took a deep breath. Take me running then. Are you sure you won't get in trouble? She asked one last time. What will they do, Evelyn? Execute me? He smirked. She smiled. He lifted her slowly. She wrapped her arms around his neck and back. Her heart pounded. If anyone sees me like this, she murmured. Arend looked at her. Then I'll marry you. That'll shut them up, he said, mischief dancing in his eyes. Evelyn froze, then laughed. So immortals have a sense of humor. A good one. Ready? Arend whispered. Yes. A tap of his foot, and they hovered. Literally. Evelyn yelped as she looked down. The ground was a few centimeters below Arend's boots. Are you sure about this? How will you see where we're going? What if we get lost? She asked nervously, clutching him tighter. I've known these mountains for thousands of years. We won't get lost, that's a promise. Now hold on, he said with a wink. And they ran. Evelyn opened her eyes, but couldn't keep them open long. The wind roared past, tangling her hair. It was dizzying, intoxicating. Leaves whooshed, rocks cracked beneath them. Speed. For the first time, she felt speed, real unfiltered speed. The cold wind slapped her cheeks. She held on tight, partly terrified, mostly thrilled, as the world blurred by. It feels good. Sometimes Arend rose higher, then dipped low, weaving through trees. They must have covered half the mountain. Eventually, he stopped. Evelyn gasped, lungs filling with adrenaline-laced air. Before them stood a massive sequoia tree, the same forest where they first met. Arend held her close. Arend, she whispered, wondering what came next. Shh, he smiled, then shot upward. Branches rustled as they passed, climbing higher and higher, until he reached a thick branch. Gently, he sat her down beside him. Evelyn clung to the branch, knuckles white. Her feet dangled. Her eyes widened in awe. She was breathless, shaky, from the adrenaline and magic of it all. A hand covered her mouth, trying to hold back her bubbling laughter and little gasps. It was beautiful up there. The stars glittered like diamonds above. The trees below, bathed in moonlight, whispered secrets to the night. The stars, they felt so close. Maybe I can jump and reach them. She reached out both hands, waving them in front of her, eyes wide. Without realizing it, she leaned too far forward. Arend caught her quickly, his arm firm across her. Fresh air filled her lungs. Her mind spun with everything she'd seen, everything she'd felt. Her gaze locked on the sky. That star, the brightest one, the one Nadvari showed her once. Isn't that the Naroya, the northern star? Whatever luck you carry, Naroya, we need it now. Chapter 15, The Children He Saved. Evelyn tried to breathe slower, but excitement overwhelmed her. She gasped for air again as her weak lungs struggled to manage the whole experience. Evelyn, are you all right? Arend asked, watching her closely. Slowly, Evelyn turned her head toward him. Her eyes glowed with happiness and excitement, and her hair was tousled from the blowing wind. She smiled, brushing strands of hair from her face. Amazing, Arend. Running is amazing. Oh, so amazing. Her voice trembled as she struggled to form a coherent sentence. Arend smiled gently. I'm glad you feel that way. Do you come here often, Arend? To this branch? She asked. Yes, Evelyn. This branch? Elevar. Elevar? The tree of the gods. Old, majestic trees. Your people call it sequoia. Our god Hatar planted the very first Elevar thousands of years ago. And this one, Arend nodded, as he patted the knotted, rough branch of the ancient tree. I planted this one. Evelyn's breath finally settled. How old is this tree? She asked tentatively, watching him. Arend took a deep breath. 500 years at least. I planted the seed here and watched it grow, day after day. His blue eyes looked serene as he gazed at her. 500 years old. Immortality suddenly seemed very long indeed. A sat quietly for some time as the night deepened. "How does immortality feel, Arend?" Evelyn asked, staring up at the stars above. It felt strange to have an immortal being sitting so close. So close she could feel the ripple of his muscled arm against her own, on a branch of a tree, no less. For someone with a limp like hers, sitting on a high tree branch was almost like flying. "Long, Evelyn, very long. I just stopped counting the days. I sometimes wonder how it feels to live eternally, to be immortal." Arend turned to watch her curiously. "Why?" His eyes widened. "Well, my health is weak, Arend. There were many times I became so ill, so close to death. The priest came and gave me last rites. People thought I would die soon, but I didn't. I survived to see the next day. I was so close to death, many times. It makes me wonder what it's like to live forever, to know that death holds no power over me." Arend looked pensive. His eyebrows furrowed deeply as he sighed. "I'm not sure if I'm not sure if immortality is." Evelyn tilted her head as she saw him hesitate. "Is what, Arend? Don't you think immortality is a blessing?" Those blue eyes stared straight into hers. Evelyn could almost see the words crowding in his mind, ready to spill out. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, then opened them again. "No, Evelyn, I'm tired of being immortal," he confessed, his voice barely a whisper as he leaned closer. Evelyn was taken aback. How could someone be tired of immortality? "I don't understand," she murmured, studying the face before her. It wasn't princely handsome, but neither was it unattractive. Regal yet rugged, humbled by what it had endured, strong yet fragile. Arend sighed and looked up at the stars, searching for words. "A human like you knows how precious life is because your days are numbered. You know there will come a day when everything stops, when you die," he said, eyes fixed on the vast night sky. Evelyn understood. She thought of those dark days when she was so sick and prayed hard just to see the next sunrise. "You live each day trying to make it count, because you know one day you won't be able to anymore." Arend turned back to her. "Immortals like me don't care about days or time. We're free from the trap of time." "Isn't that good, Arend?" "For the first century or so, yes. But after so many days, years, centuries, I miss the hustle and bustle, the colors of life. Our life becomes flat, Evelyn. We have duties, yes, but we cannot die. We stop feeling emotion because, well, it doesn't matter anymore when you know you can live forever." "Arend," Evelyn bit her lip, curiosity pressing. How did you become immortal? Have you always been?" Arend sighed, lowering his gaze. "You don't have to answer if you don't want to, Arend. I was a human. Evelyn? Oh, I was a warrior long ago, chief of an ancient tribe. Thousands of years ago, my tribe, Nidara, joined forces with the god Hatar to battle the evil forces on Earth. The forces of the evil god Yaoreth, the one we face now. We won, but I was badly injured while helping some children who were about to be slaughtered by evil warriors." Evelyn's eyes widened. "What did you do?" 4 young children were trapped in their hut, surrounded by fire lit by the evil warriors. I carried them out, one by one. When the last child was safe, the enemies attacked me. Yaireth himself took my sight. I have eyes, but I cannot see." Arend took a deep breath as memories flooded him. "So you could see before?" "Yes, until that day when I fought alongside Hatar. I almost died protecting those children and lost my sight. Hatar saw that. And Hatar restored my health but couldn't give back my sight, destroyed the Yaoreth. As a gift, he elevated me to be the 7th and last Altere immortal. Yaereth is an old enemy, then. Arend sighed deeply. For hundreds of years, I tried to heal and live with blindness. I hated Yaorth so much, it ate me alive. I thought of my lost sight, people I lost, dreams shattered, regret, anger, what could have been. But immortality is long, and it gives time. Thousands of years passed, and slowly I learned to live without sight. Evelyn understood. The anger she felt whenever she looked at her limp leg or thought about being left out of her father's life. The swirling questions of what could have been, what should have been, if she were whole, if she were not born crippled. Holding Jamie's baby that night brought those memories back, Evelyn. I remember the children I saved, even their faces. Immortality steals the colors and smells of memories. They become gray, dull, cloudy after too long buried. Evelyn nodded. I'm proud of what you did, Arend. Arend turned to her, eyes searching her face. Strange I spoke to you about the secrets of my heart. Yet I will never see your face. Well, is seeing my face important? I don't know. I don't think it is. You can run fast, and I can only dream of that. I can see, and you cannot. How about this? I promise to be your sight if you promise to take me running again after the war is over. Evelyn bit her lip and shook her head. Had she been too straightforward? But Arend didn't seem offended. His eyes searched hers again, and he nodded. That sounds like a very good plan, Evelyn. They fell silent once more. Are you scared, Evelyn? She nodded. Yes, I'm mortal, Arend. I could die in a war. I promise I won't let you die. Evelyn shook her head sadly. You're immortal, Arend, but that doesn't mean you control life and death for a mortal like me. I promise, Evelyn. I will guard your life. Evelyn stared at Arend, realizing he was utterly serious. His blue eyes widened as they searched her face. His right hand rose, trembling, and hovered close to her cheek. I'm sure you're beautiful, Evelyn. I don't need sight to know that, he whispered, resting his hand gently on her cheek. Evelyn took a deep breath but found no words to reply. Arend sighed and removed his hand. She nodded slowly and looked down, then let out a loud shriek. Look, Arend! Some insects flying down there. By the shrubs, they glow, she pointed excitedly. Down below, tiny lights flickered and danced, dots of floating fireflies covering the ground and shrubs. Fireflies, Arend whispered. Evelyn couldn't blink, captivated by the display. So beautiful, she whispered. She had never seen fireflies before. They remained quiet for a while, Evelyn feasting her eyes on the glowing lights. Finally, she took a deep breath. Maybe we should go back, Arend. It's almost dawn. Arend nodded. This time, as he lifted her to carry her again, her hands relaxed around him much more easily, as if she'd grown comfortable with it. He brought her back safely to the entrance of her chamber. Thank you so much, Arend, she said, though it didn't seem enough to express her gratitude to someone who had taken a woman with a limp running halfway up a mountain. You're welcome, Evelyn. I'm glad we spent this evening together. Good night. She mouthed her good night. Without another word, he turned and left to face the battle that was about to begin. Chapter 16, Unspoken Words. Evelyn was scared. War was at the door, and she could not stop trembling. She tried to sew, but her hands shook so violently that she lost all concentration on even the smallest tasks. Needles pricked her fingers, fresh dark red droplets oozing out, and she froze. Jane came by to help pack Evelyn's belongings into a small leather bag, just the essentials for a few days in the bunker. Jane's eyes were red and swollen. It was obvious she had been crying. Her hands expertly organized the items, but Evelyn could see she barely looked at what she was doing. She was distracted, terrified, simply going through the motions. Jane? Evelyn called softly. Did you know, my lady? The soldiers are ready. They all stand in perfect lines right behind the fort gate. My lady, war, it's coming, Jane blurted out. Evelyn shook her head and closed her eyes tightly. I know, Jane. I hear the commotion all too clearly from here. Lord Arend, the altere, he's busy. Really busy. Some soldiers need training on shooting the glowing arrows properly. How can you train really scant soldiers? They can't even stand straight by now, Jane said, shaking her head left and right. How is Lord Arend? Evelyn asked, looking up from the handkerchief she was trying to sew. Quite a handsome lad, I'd say. A bit rugged, but a real gentleman. His blue eyes could kill, I'm sure. I've never seen eyes so blue they almost glow. I'd approve him as a son-in-law if I ever had a daughter. Jane nodded, massaging her chubby chin while her eyes scanned the wall. Evelyn couldn't help but chuckle. I mean, how is he doing? Not how he looks, Jane. Jane startled, and her round face flushed deeper red. Oh, I'm so sorry, my lady. I thought you asked how he looks. Evelyn laughed, and it felt good to laugh. Well, he's patient, I'd say. He was training some young soldiers how to shoot arrows. Those soldiers, they almost wet their pants, I'm sure. Evelyn nodded. It's strange, though, my lady, Jane continued cautiously, looking up as if searching for the right words. Lord Arend is so honorable, so gentlemanly, so warrior-like. You'd think he wouldn't be good with children, but today, just now. What happened today, Jane? I was taking laundry from the washing line when Georgie, the 4-year-old son of Alma, our cook, ran and fell, badly scraped his knee, blood and all. Poor little lad cried and screamed at the top of his lungs. Lord Arend was nearby, and he just picked Georgie up, took some powder from his pouch, put it on the knee, and that was it. He was so gentle with him. Evelyn nodded. She wasn't surprised. Arend had risked his life to save children many years ago, and you should have seen the commotion in the kitchen when Lord Arend came carrying crying Georgie in his arms. Georgie wanted his mummy. Alma, well, she's always clumsy. She was preparing a chicken to be roasted. Jane paused, amusement sparkling in her eyes. And then, Evelyn asked curiously, well, that clumsy Alma. She turned quickly when she heard Georgie crying. And of course, she had to sway that dead chicken at the same time, and, well, she kind of, hit Lord Arend in the face with it. Evelyn's mouth fell open wide. The whole kitchen went dead silent. We thought Alma would be executed right then and there. She shook so hard, like a willow in a storm. And Lord Arend was startled, obviously. A dead chicken just slapped him. But he wasn't angry, just startled. He asked for a cloth to clean his face, nodded, patted Georgie's head, and left. Alma almost fainted after that chicken debacle. Evelyn chuckled, relieved the saga ended well. Jane took a deep breath, nodded in satisfaction at her packing, and fled downstairs to do more. Evelyn tried sewing again, and failed again. At dawn, loud cries and screaming outside woke her. The warning bugle echoed all around the mansion, loud, a sign the enemies had reached the other side of the Sharon River. She grabbed her walking cane and went to the balcony. It was noisy, bugles blaring, soldiers running around, carrying out last-minute commands. She looked toward the sky above the Sharon River, where Tarag had arrived. The sky was not dark as dawn should be. Instead, it was reddish-orange. Embers of fire tinted it orange, with blotches of dark clouds scattered. Evelyn gripped the balcony railing so tightly, her fists turned white and painful. She bit her lip and nodded slowly, running evacuation instructions in her mind. Go to the bunker. Bring the leather bag. Walk fast. Don't look back. But her eyes remained fixed on the orange sky outside. Her body started trembling with cold and fear. The Tarag must have started firing their flaming arrows. Some grass and trees were already burning. War was here. Tears began streaming freely down her cheeks. She blinked, trying to stop them, but failed. Warm liquid drenched her face. Dear God, what will happen now? I have to be strong. I have to. A strong wind blew through her hair. Evelyn! She turned. Arend stood there, looking dashing in full battle gear. Dark cape, breastplate, big bow and arrows. His blue eyes glowed with fierce intensity. His jet black hair was neatly tied at the nape, and the 3 characters etched on his forehead stood out dark against his fair skin. He was ready for battle. "Go to the bunker soon, Evelyn. Don't delay," he whispered, worry shining clearly in his gaze. Evelyn frantically wiped her tears. He didn't need to see her cry. "They're here, aren't they, Arend?" she asked slowly, stumbling as she tried to find her cane. It wasn't there. It had fallen somewhere. Tears rolled down again. Unstoppable. She leaned to reach for it, but couldn't. Damn cane. Arend grabbed it and handed it to her. "Yes, Evelyn. They're across the river," he answered as she grasped her cane and tried to stand. "Arend, you're immortal. Why can't you stop this war from starting?" She didn't even know why she asked. "I'm sorry, Evelyn. It's out of my hands. But I will do all I can to help your people. I will." He grasped her shoulder, his sightless eyes searching her face. His blue gaze pierced and comforted all at once. Evelyn broke down, sobbing. Her shoulders shook hard as tears fell, and her heart broke. Before she knew it, she was in Arend's embrace. Warm, solid, comforting. It gave her strength. Arend hugged her tightly. Protocol said no man should hug her unless he was her father or husband. To hell with protocol, Evelyn sighed quietly as warmth slowly rejuvenated her, and she hugged him back. Slowly, Evelyn pushed him away and smiled. "Are you all right, Evelyn?" "I have to be, Arend." "Don't worry," she replied, voice trembling despite her strength. Arend sighed, his expression somber. His mind was heavy. "I heard about the chicken incident," Evelyn whispered, teasing to lighten the mood. It worked. Arend shook his head, chuckled, smiled thinly, and gentle laughter followed. "Quite unpredictable," he said. Evelyn agreed. "Have you ever had—" "No, never. I never had a dead chicken swayed at me. I swear, Evelyn," he answered seriously, shaking his head. Evelyn smiled wider. "Evelyn, I just want you to know that Arend hesitated, biting his lip, staring at the orange sky. He took a breath and turned to face her. Maybe?" Suddenly, a loud boom erupted from the fort, followed by shouts. "Evelyn, go to the bunker, now!" Arend's voice was urgent. Evelyn nodded firmly. "Go, Commander. There's a battle waiting for you." Arend looked at her one last time and then vanished, riding the wind. Evelyn took a long, deep breath. She still felt the warmth of his presence. She knew she had to stay alive. She just had to. She walked to the door. Then Felicity Grimson stood there. "Felicity, come on. We have to go to the bunker. Let's." Evelyn tried to grab Felicity's hand. Felicity flicked her hand away, a smirk breaking across her powdered face. "No, Evelyn. Didn't you know something about the bunker?" "What is it, Felicity? Come on, let's go." Evelyn tried again, but Felicity flicked her hand harder. "Didn't you know? The bunker is not for a crippled lady like you." Felicity jabbed her with a hateful, jealous glare that made Evelyn shiver. What did she want? Felicity laughed hard, more like a shriek. "You had everything I didn't, Evelyn. But today is my day." Her eyes were icy, and Evelyn realized whatever was brewing in Felicity's mind was not good. "Felicity, what do you mean? Let's go now. We can talk in the bunker, I promise." "Your father, after all I gave him, he told me he'd share his inheritance with you." "With you? I thought I could have it all," Felicity shouted. A booming sound startled Evelyn. "Inheritance? Now?" "Felicity, I don't care about inheritance now. There is no inheritance if we're dead. Let's go to the bunker," Evelyn shouted as Felicity stepped into her chamber. Suddenly, Felicity shoved her hard. Evelyn fell backward. Her walking cane was thrown somewhere. Her mind went blank. She saw Felicity grab her cane. No, no, Felicity, why? Why? Don't! She trembled as Felicity threw the cane out the door, then locked the chamber door from outside. Evelyn was stunned. Felicity had taken her cane and locked her in, with war raging outside. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came. Her throat was too dry. Who would hear her anyway with all the noise and chaos outside? Her breath quickened. It was hard to think. Balcony, she had to escape. She began crawling, holding back tears even as her mind grew fuzzy with fear. Balcony. Maybe she could jump and crawl to the bunker, maybe. She crawled as fast as she could, palms burning, heart pounding, as war ravaged lives and the orange sky turned a bloody red. Chapter 17. Be My Sight. The commotion caused by the arrival of the enemies was loud enough to amplify the grip of fear that could neither be shaken nor trampled. Soldiers stood with faintly glowing arrows ready, their eyes fixed on the fort's gate, droplets of sweat tumbling down their foreheads and chins, hearts pounding, knees trembling. Memories drifted across the ocean of loved ones they might never see again. War was a cruel toss of the dice. Some would live to see another day. Some would perish today. The cavalry with their war horses took the front line as the first attackers, while at least 2,000 infantry stood behind with glowing arrows ready, final defenders trained in hand-to-hand combat. Wooden stations lined the fort's walls, manned by soldiers ready to release the first volley as enemies landed on the riverbank. Cannons were ready to damage the enemy crossbows. General Farrington sat regal on his horse, head held high, face a mask of ruthless determination. The chief Awahali and Nadvari had returned to defend their homeland. The sounds of enemy boats crossing the river, their gongs and chants growing louder, marked the calm before the storm. Fire arrows burned vegetation around the fort, smoke assaulting noses and eyes, turning the dawn sky orangered. The sun was about to rise, twilight sharpened vision, easing frayed nerves. We can't waste energy defending vegetation, whispered the general to Arend, who stood motionless, blue eyes locked on the gate. Arend, you know what you need to do. Arend nodded, unwavering. Jenkins rushed in, shaking as he reported, trying and failing to appear brave. Stay strong, Jenkins. I could swear I saw your pants wet. The general snapped. Jenkins trembled and turned away. Jenkins, Arend called, patting his shoulder. Jenkins broke down. I want to be brave, my lord. How? It is evil out there. Arend sighed. Yes, evil, Jenkins. Evil that will bring disaster, if not stopped. Disaster that will reach your home and loved ones. My wife and children, my lord. Think of them, Jenkins. Their love for you, your love for them, their prayers for you. And you, my lord, who do you think about? You have no wife or children. Arend looked up to the twilight sky. I do have somebody I love, he whispered. Jenkins was surprised. But you're immortal. You don't fear death. Arend's sorrow deepened. That's my punishment, living forever while the one I love dies because I failed to protect her. I'd feel her warmth, see her face in my mind, but never meet her again. Eternal punishment. Jenkins exhaled, understanding. I'd rather choose death if that happened. A loud boom rang out. They're here, soldiers shouted. Jenkins inhaled deeply, whispered, for Rosaline, Jack, Ruffy, and little Emma, and took his place beside the general. More erupted, souls praying for anything but death. Tarag warriors fired arrows outside the gate. First deaths fell. Poison-tipped arrows flew fast, countered by glowing, white arrows. General Farrington commanded as more white arrows slowed but did not stop the Tarag. These warriors, under Yareth's evil influence, were tall, huge, with red eyes, cold and empty, reeking of decay. Red tattoos marked their bodies, memories wiped clean. Cannons fired, screams of pain filled the air as soldiers fell. eyes wide in their last moments. The immortal guard fought relentlessly as the fort gate was breached. Blood spattered his face as he killed many with dagger and arrow. His loyal black wolf, Dax, devoured enemies, fighting alongside him. Blind but deadly, Arend relied on hearing, smell, and touch, mastering his handicap as a weapon. General Farrington wielded a glowing sword and handgun, slowing the advance. His horse wounded, he fell. 3 Turog attacked. Dax devoured one, Jenkins wounded another, and Arend beheaded the last. "Thank you," the general said shakily as Arend helped him up. "I can't let your soldiers lose their commander or your daughter lose her father." A bad premonition struck Arend. He glanced toward the mansion at the fort's center. "I will find Dalar," he said, riding swiftly, leaving a trail of blood. But Dalar found him first. A beast-like man, over 2 meters tall, covered in red tattoos and metal bars embedded in his chest. Pale and corpse-like, reeking of death. No longer human, but one with Yareth. I remember you from long ago," he hissed, swinging a spiked mace glowing red. "The Regal, forged in hell, able to wound Arend. You are the immortal guard, Arend, Haddar's blind warrior, the 7th Altaray. You cannot die, but with the Regal, you can be turned to dust, sent on an eternal journey into nothingness," Dalar snarled. Arend gripped his dagger firmly. "I'm here to stop you." Dalar groaned, shaking, then attacked fiercely. Arend dodged, struggling. Meanwhile, humans were pushed back closer to the mansion as wounded Turag fought on. "The mansion gate is down. The mansion gate is down," shouts rang out. Soldiers fought desperately in the courtyard. Arrows flew. "Evelyn, what is that stupid girl doing on her balcony? She should be in the bunker." General Farrington panicked. Evelyn stood clutching the balcony railing, mind blank, lips quivering. She saw Jenkins fighting, knocked down, but fighting back with dagger and arrow. Blood and chaos everywhere. Her limp leg shook, but she forced herself upright, eyes locked on Arend outside the gate. Sweat streamed down her face. Pain gripped her leg, but she stood straight. Then she saw Dalar, pale, tattooed, huge, corpse-like. Her father's voice rang, realizing she wasn't in the bunker. "Father, I'm sorry," she murmured, but he was busy fighting. Her body swayed, legs faltering. Then she heard a whisper. Arend's voice. "Evelyn, can you hear me?" She forced herself to stand taller, clutching the railing harder. "Arend, I can hear you." "How?" she whispered. "Remember your promise? To be my sight?" "Yes," she breathed. "I need you." "Now," she stammered, unsure how to speak. "Dalar has cut off all my senses. I cannot see, hear, or smell." "I will be your sight." Evelyn nodded, focusing. "Tell me his movements." She watched carefully. "To your left, 3 or 4 steps away. He's swinging a spiked mace. Dodge right, run." Arend obeyed. She relayed every move, growing stronger despite her shaking leg. Dalar was furious, missing Arend's attacks. Suddenly, he froze, groaned, and turned toward the balcony, toward Evelyn. "What's happening? Tell me," Arend shouted. She shivered, sweat beading her forehead, throat dry. "He knows I'm your sight. He's looking at me." She clenched her fists, steadying her nerves. "Jump at him, Arend. He's distracted. Strike now." Arend leapt, lunging. Dalar shouted commands to nearby Turog. "Evelyn, get down, now!" Arend's panic-filled shout rang. Confused, she hesitated, wanting to watch. "Evelyn, down! They're targeting you," he yelled again. 3 Turog soldiers zigzagged toward her, bows drawn. Jenkins and another scrambled to intercept, but too late. A red arrow flew toward her, the last shot as Jenkins took down an attacker. She froze. "Evelyn, down!" Arend's voice was the last she heard. Chapter 18. A Merciful Death. Evelyn fell silent, and Arend's premonition told him something had happened to her. "Evelyn," he whispered, now without her guidance, losing his only sense of sight. Dalar pushed him away, breaking the contact that had anchored Arend's sense of touch to him. He tried to stand and continue fighting, but a searing pain stabbed his back, the ragul. He felt a pain unlike any before as Dollar laughed cruelly. Falling to his knees, he struggled to catch his breath. Sweat pouring down him, the arrogant Dollar broke the spell on Arend, wanting to kill him fairly, not while Arend was under a spell. Arend heard Dollar approaching and felt the ragul pulled from his back, skin tearing, biting his bleeding lips to endure the agony. I will turn you into eternal dust, poor Alterai. Eternal damnation for a damned warrior, Dollar hissed, raising the ragul high to thrust into Arend's forehead. Pain overwhelmed Arend's mind. Evelyn, forgive me. I failed to protect you. Please forgive me, he whispered with his last breath, as heartbreak consumed him. Blinking through intense pain, sensing the ragul's approach, Arend shook his head, and relying only on hearing, found the ragul's handle, gripping it with all his might to prevent it from piercing his forehead. No, he refused to become dust, drifting eternally through the void. He groaned, holding on as Dollar pulled harder, ragul's foul, hellish stench near his face. He gasped for air. Then, a whooshing wind slapped his face, and a thud sounded. The ragul's handle struck by an arrow just below his hands, a precision only an Alterai could achieve. Dalar howled angrily as his ragul flew meters away. Arend caught his breath. I can't let a good friend become dust now, can I? A voice said. Agdar, Arend whispered. Yes, it's me, my friend. Take my hand. Stand up. Finish that evil. Arend took Agdar's hand and shakily rose, back drenched in blood, feeling the tide of battle turn. Strength renewed. The 6 mountain guards arrived with their ferocious black wolves, mercilessly killing evil, blood spatters flying in their wake. A cool breeze touched Arend's back. The pain lessened as Aord, the healer among the guards, placed his glowing hand on the wound. Dalar is yours, Aord whispered, withdrawing his hand. Agdar nodded and launched a deadly attack, beheading many Turog warriors. Fight, Arend. Be strong. Fight for the one who stays in your heart now. Agdar's words were like a poem that filled Arend with renewed power. Gripping his dagger, Arend attacked Dalar fiercely. Their battle dragged on. The ragul sliced his skin, but Arend glimpsed his comrades fighting valiantly. Memories flooded. Children saved. Wives rebuilt. Jenkins still fighting for his children. General Farrington and young soldiers too young to die. And Evelyn. These thoughts steeled his resolve, despite blood dripping from his mouth. Huge crossbows fired massive arrows at the mansion, breaking glass, igniting flames at its entrance. The mansion must never fall. It meant the end of the battle. Roaring, Arend jumped high, twirling swiftly around Dalar multiple times, knowing the speed would worsen his wounds, but needed to confuse his foe. Launching off a tree with his dagger glowing, he became a projectile aimed straight for Dalar's forehead, the seat of Yaereth. The wind from Arend's speed blew Dalar backward as he wildly swung his ragul. Too late. Arend plunged his dagger with full force. Dalar fell. And Arend fell with him. Dalar shrieked, then burst into thousands of black dust, exuding unbearable hellish stench. Arend knelt, blood flowing freely from his mouth. Have you gone mad, Arend? You know you're injured, Agdar scolded, kneeling beside him. Arend shivered, cold and weak. I had to. Dalar, he's gone, he breathed. Speechless, Agdar helped him up as Aord's worried face appeared, healing him again. The tide had turned. Cannons and guns now decimated the Terag, who could no longer withstand the assault. Arend fought as hard as possible. The mountain guards slaughtered many evil warriors. The war was won, but at a heavy price. Countless lives lost, walls stained with blood, traumatized young soldiers wandering like ghosts, discovering their friends had fallen. The mountain guards tried to help the wounded, but some were beyond aid. These immortals gently pressed a node behind the necks of the mortally wounded, granting peaceful death, a mercy killing. Arend heard a soldier's pained whimper, knelt, examined his wounds, and knew mercy was the only kindness left. The soldier writhed in agony, blood gurgling from his mouth, and a deep chest wound. "Close your eyes, soldier. I will take away your pain," Arend gently said. "Kill me, my lord. I am beyond help," the soldier gasped, grimacing. Arend closed his eyes, heart breaking with grief. "Wait, tell my love, Louise, the laundry lady's daughter, that I'm sorry. I couldn't buy her a ring for her birthday. Tell her I love her so much. Oh, my Louise." Each word pierced Arend's heart. A final goodbye, a love lost, a heartbreak. His blue eyes glowed briefly. "I am Arend, the seventh altere. I promise your message will reach her. Now be at peace, and thank you for your service, honorable soldier." He bowed his head, pressed the node, and the soldier exhaled gently, pain fading as he met his maker. Arend wiped the blood from the young man's face, nodded, and shivered from his own weakening body. Around him, the chaos roared, but he heard none of it. He turned, weaving through shouts of surrender and victory. The smell of gunpowder, burnt cloth, wood, flesh, and fresh blood filled the air. Arend rushed into the mansion's ruined entrance, careful over shattered glass and cracked floors from collapsed roofs. "Arend," Agdar called. Ignoring the searing pain in his back and blood trickling from his mouth, Arend pressed on. Agdar followed, pleading, "Arend, stop. You need Art's help. I have to know how she is doing. She was on the balcony." Arend replied. Agdar stepped before him. "Let's find Aord. You need strength." Arend met his friend's eyes defiantly. "No." Agdar grabbed his shoulders, voice firm. "What good are you to her if you're injured? You can't love her if you turn to dust." Pain in Agdar's words shook Arend. "Agdar, I know you fought for her, but you're injured. Without healing, you could become dust by sunrise," Agdar urged, shaken. Arend turned and staggered toward Evelyn's room, with Agdar close behind. They reached the locked chamber door. Blood still trickling from his mouth, Arend found the handle and touched it. The door crashed open with a bang. "Evelyn." Arend entered and froze mid-room. Chapter 19. The Sacrifice. "She is at the balcony, Arend. She has fallen." Agdar's voice trembled with sorrow. Arend hurried closer and knelt beside Evelyn. His hands gently touched her face. "The Terag arrow," hissed Agdar as he followed. Jane started screaming and bolted out of the room to call for help. Arend's strength faltered as he felt the arrow lodge deep in Evelyn's shoulder. He knew it was poisoned. He could hear her breathing, slow, shallow, fading. "She is badly poisoned," muttered Agdar. "Evelyn, can you hear me?" Arend's voice shook as he spoke. He took her hands slowly and noticed they had grown cold. Only a faint pulse remained. "She might be gone soon, Arend," Agdar said, his heart breaking. He knew Evelyn's injury was severe. Arend shook his head fiercely. "She must be cured, Agdar. Orth can help. He will help." His voice was half desperation, half fear. Agdar looked away, heartbroken for his friend. Evelyn did not move. Arend's hands tightened around hers, frozen in place. The general entered, his heavy breathing betraying his anger and frustration. "Go," he shouted at Arend and Agdar. He knelt beside his severely wounded daughter and checked her pulse. Agdar grabbed Arend's elbow. "Let her be with her own kind, Arend." Arend stiffened, but Agdar pulled him back. They stepped aside as Dr. Raleigh was summoned to tend to Evelyn. In Arend's mind, the world blurred. Pain ravaged him. Heartbreak consumed him, burning his dreams to ash. Outside the chamber, the two immortal guards lowered their heads and left. The mansion's veranda and the sprawling fort complex bustled with activity. Suddenly, shrieks and screams pierced the air. Civilians from the bunker trickled back into the living room and saw the devastation. Women shrieked at the sight of injured and dead bodies sprawled on the floor. Faces, already pale with fear, turned even whiter, eyes widening in horror. They froze. Aaron slowly approached the group, his voice low. "I need to speak to Louise, the laundry lady's daughter. I have a message for her." Murmurs spread. Soon, a dark-haired, dark-eyed, petite girl of about 18 stepped forward. She looked so pale that the blue veins on the backs of her hands stood out clearly. Her stance wavered. "My lord, I am Louise." Aaron caught his breath, listening to her voice, and trained his blind eyes on her face. He whispered the soldier's last message to her. His promise to the fallen soldier was fulfilled, but then a loud cry broke out. Louise shook her head, flung her arms wildly, and began hitting him in her grief. She screamed, guttural, heart-wrenching screams that shook her entire body as the floodgates of grief opened wide. She barely caught her breath, heaving as she sobbed and punched Aaron. He looked away and closed his eyes, letting her rage pour out on his chest. Several women rushed to pull Louise away. She struggled for a few seconds before surrendering and slumping as they caught and hugged her tightly. They did not need to ask, they knew. "I am sorry, my lord. My daughter has struck you," came the broken voice of Louise's mother. Her distress and sorrow were clear. Aaron shook his head. "Don't apologize. She has lost so much," he said softly. Images raced through his tired mind. Wars, many wars he had witnessed, children he had saved millennia ago. The gate to his immortal life. Immortality now seemed a curse. For the first time, he felt a deep, overwhelming wish to die, to be done. He coughed blood as pain tore through him, his soul shattered by the relentless jabs of a wounded heart with no hope of healing. Events unfolded around him as if through a fog. An investigation began into who had locked Evelyn in her room. Agdar, loyal friend that he was, volunteered to lead it. With his mind-reading ability, the culprit was soon uncovered. Lady Felicity Grunson was dragged screaming, spewing curses from her crimson lips, back to the bunker that would serve as her jail. The general barked orders, his voice cracked by disbelief and rage. "Aaron." A pat on the shoulder startled him. It was Agdar. "We should be leaving soon." Aaron was blank for a moment, then shook his head. "I can't go. I have to see her." Agdar sighed. "Do you think that's wise, Aaron?" he whispered. Aaron met his friend's gaze with pain and nodded. "I have to. I can't leave without seeing her." He turned and walked toward the general, bumping a soldier along the way as pain dulled his senses. Agdar followed. Close behind. "Is there anything you need, Aaron?" the general asked impatiently. Aaron nodded. "Permission to see your daughter." The general sighed deeply. "You want to see Evelyn? Well, she is very wounded, I know. I just want to see her," Aaron said firmly, too exhausted and hurt for pleasantries. "Well, yes, of course." Busy with other matters, the general summoned the still-shaken Jane to escort Aaron. Agdar followed closely. In Evelyn's chamber, Jane cried softly. "Nothing more could be done, my lord. My lady is very sick. The poison has spread deep, according to Dr. Raleigh. She's barely been conscious since they found her. She could pass on by tomorrow." Aaron looked away, hands shaking as he fought for breath. Tomorrow. Pain stabbed his back. He grimaced and whispered, "Thank you, Jane." Jane left, her sobbing echoing softly. "How is she, Agdar? Please tell me. I can't see her," he whispered to his friend. "She looks like she's sleeping, but the purplish blue of her lips and her pale skin show severe poisoning. Her wound is bandaged, but she's not expected to survive the night, Aaron. I'm sorry." Death felt closer to Aaron than ever before in his long life. The death that had always eluded him now mocked him mercilessly. He slowly clasped Evelyn's hands tighter. They were warm, a fragile sign of life, soon to fade into eternal chill. He bowed his head and prayed to the gods. Hatter, where are you? After all I've done for you, could you, at least help her? We should go, Arend. Let her be with her own kind. Our task is done, a voice said, Ard. Arend faced his leader and shook his head. I can't go now. There's nothing for you here, Arend, Ard commanded. Arend sighed, blue eyes searching Ard's. There's everything for me here. Love has trapped you, Ard said, certain. Arend didn't reply. Silence lingered until he slowly walked to Ard. Ard, you have a powerful healing gift. Can you help her? Arend shivered with pain. You know I'm not allowed to interfere with a human's life and death, Arend. Arend's face fell as sadness engulfed him. Then teach me, Ard. Teach me how to heal her. You've taught me so much through the thousands of years we've known each other. Teach me to help her. Ard closed his eyes and sighed deeply. Arend, stalwart warrior, powerful guard, how much turmoil you've let your heart endure. His voice trailed into a whisper. Turmoil. I don't mind now, Ard. I feel alive again. I feel pain, happiness, heartbreak. I love, Ard. I never thought I could. Arend, I feel more alive now than ever in my immortal existence. Happiness, pain, sadness, heartbreak, meaning, purpose. Ard looked at him sadly. Arend has made up his mind. Agdar's calm voice interrupted, softening Ard's tense posture. There is one way to save her, Ard finally revealed. Arend straightened his injured back, listening. What is it? Do you know what it will cost you? What is it? It, Aord. Aord gazed out the window, brows furrowed, then turned sharply. Your immortality. Arend sighed deeply. Then so be it, he decided, resolute. Agdar nodded. Aord was speechless. Aord stepped forward and placed his left hand on Arend's shoulder. A cool rush of air swept through Arend's body, easing his pain slightly. That's all I can do to help before you become mortal. Hopefully it's enough, or being mortal will kill you from your injuries, Aord warned frankly. Arend looked gratefully at Aord, a father figure through the centuries, and nodded. Aord extended his arms and recited prayers to Hattar. A thin waft of blue smoke appeared. A blue dagger materialized in Aord's palms. Its handle was adorned with carved characters and gemstones. Atarak, Hattar's dagger, the one that ends your immortality, Aord whispered, gazing at the dagger. What must I do? Arend asked, certain of the sacrifice he was ready to make. Your blood must be spilled by this dagger and dripped onto the lady's wound, Aord explained, carefully handing the dagger to Arend. Arend, Agdar called, walking to him, my friend. I want you to know I'm proud of your choice. You followed your heart, Agdar smiled. Arend gave a thin smile. Thank you, Agdar. It's been an honor knowing you. It's not goodbye. I'll come visit you someday, and you can tell me all about being mortal, Agdar assured him with a pat on the shoulder. I'd love that. Now I just hope I survive this as a mortal. How about if Lady Evelyn, Agdar stammered, hesitating. If she doesn't love me after all, Arend whispered. Agdar and Aord looked at him closely. Arend took a deep breath. She'd still be alive, and that's what matters. She can carry on living. Arend gripped the Atarak and inhaled deeply. This was it. The searing pain was unforgettable. The arrow lodged deep in her shoulder blade. Evelyn felt a heat she had never known, burning her insides. She screamed until her throat ached, trying to withstand the radiating pain. Nobody listened. Everyone was at war. She cried as the sounds of battle faded into eerie silence and darkness crept in. Pain faded, replaced by cold and overwhelming loneliness. She floated in her own world. White fog surrounded her, weightless, void. Is this death? Has she died? Arend, how could she tell him she loved him? An immortal and a dead woman do not belong together. What would she give for one more chance to tell him, honestly, truly, unmistakably from her heart? But wait, no, is that Arend? She saw him. He saw her. He grabbed her tightly as she began to drift away. "I promised, Evelyn. I promised to protect you. Come now. The world of the living waits for you, my dear Evelyn." Evelyn gasped loudly and awoke. Sweat streamed down her face like glistening rivers. She felt cold at first, then warmth slowly returned. She saw worried, tired faces, her father, Jane, Nagy, Dr. Raleigh. "You're awake. The Immortals were right. They said AREND saved you." Dr. Raleigh exclaimed joyfully. His glasses slipped from his forehead to the floor, but he didn't care. General Farrington was speechless, nodding repeatedly as tears traced lines down his aged cheeks. Blood. Evelyn saw fresh blood on her shoulder, not from the bandages. Someone had spilled blood on her. "AREND, I have to find him," she whispered, feeling the pain in her shoulder ease. Everyone understood. There was nothing else she wanted now. She spotted AREND near the veranda, pale and wounded. "AREND," she called softly. He turned, his blind eyes searching for her. But something was different. Something was different. "Missing, Evelyn," he said, coming closer. "AREND, the markings on your forehead, they're gone." "What have you done?" AREND nodded. "A choice, Evelyn. I made a choice." Evelyn embraced him, knowing she would never, ever let go.